All right, we're live. How you feeling?
I'm doing good.
Doing good, doing good?
Doing good.
You ready for this?
I am.
All right, so welcome to another episode of Poly Stories. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
All right, my name is Antoinette Allen. I go by Nettie.
Yep.
I am 26.
Yep.
I'm African American, and I was born in SF, but I live in Oakland. So
Oaktown, baby.
I'm like,
yeah.
You know, back and forth. Gotta remember.
26, that's your prime years right here. You're hitting your prime right now.
I'm feeling old.
Nah.
When I hit like 23, I was like, I felt like I'm 85. Oh, everything
I feel like
hurts.
when he 25, that's like perfect, like prime years.
You know, it's the time to get your life together. It's like the time you like gotta know exactly what you want, where you need to be, what you need to have. It's like when I hit 25, I was like, I ain't ready. Like 30's finna come real quick. Like I'm still lacking, but no, 26 is. Once you're 25, it's like you kind of feel different.
Yeah.
Like after 25, you're like, oh, okay, I'm feeling grown. No, I'm feeling.
That's okay. Well, you're in your prime. That's why I asked you. All right, so let's get right into it. So, how did you grow up?
So I was born in Daly City, and I am one of 6. Back then, I was one of 3. Me and my twin sisters were like, well, my twin sisters, they're what you call Irish twins.
Okay.
So for 2 months, they're the same age. So
okay.
They're like back to back, kind of like twins. And then I'm the 3rd one, so I came like a year later. So
okay.
for a while, it was just us 3, and then 5 years later, we had the 4th one, and then so forth on. And years later, then 5 and 6 came along. But I was raised by my grandmother, but I consider her as my mom because she has always been like the #1 person in my life. And, me and my parents don't really get along.
Yeah.
So, my grandmother's kind of like my rock and my world and everything.
Yeah.
So, where did I start? So I was born in Frisco. I was born in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I went to school. I went to elementary school at Christopher Columbus. And then when the 4th one came along, then we kind of shifted to Oakland. At the time, my grandmother was still working out here. When the first 3 were born, my grandmother was still working out here. She was a hairdresser for 30 plus years. And when I'm trying to think, so many years ago, when the 4th one was born, my grandmother, she was at a point where she was like, all right, I want to slow down a little bit with working, because we were up at 6 in the morning, out in SF, went to school, daycare, work, then home. So it was like our days were long. So I think at some point, as more kids kept coming along, my grandmother was just like, all right, like I'm kind of getting tired. So we ended up moving to Oakland, but then still going to school out here because she was still working. And I think when my 5th sister was born was then when she was like, all right, I'm going to retire now because it started just becoming, trying to like drag 5 kids back and forth.
As a grandma, right?
As a grandmother. Yeah. And at that time, I think when the 5th one came along, she was about 68, 69, close to 70. So at that point, she was like, all right, like I can't do this no more. So she retired. Then we officially moved to Oakland. I went to elementary school at Parker. And then I went to Roosevelt for middle school. And then Castlemont for high school. So for all those Oakland people who know.
You went to school with
Castle.
Joe. You went to school with Joe, right? Joe?
No.
Oh no, I thought you said
Joe went to, if I'm not mistaken, San Leandro High.
I thought one of the person I did in the past said Castle. I forgot who it was.
Yeah, Castle, who knows? That's the school to go to. No, Gotta go to schools. No, but I guess after a while, I don't even know where to go.
No, so like, what was the toughest thing growing up in your experience?
The toughest thing growing up?
Yeah, for you.
The toughest thing. Yeah. Okay, so as I said, I was raised by my grandmother.
Yeah.
I think the toughest thing was not having my parents around.
Yeah.
As a kid, every kid loves their parents.
Yeah.
No matter what, like your parents.
Yeah, of course.
Your parents can be freaking axe murderer, but you're still gonna love them because they're your parents.
Yeah.
And I think growing up, I had a deep love for my parents.
Yeah.
And I think over the years they were around, and I think over the years as I got older, I kind of started to appreciate my grandmother more.
Yeah. Which
kind of drove a wedge in between, like, me and my mother, at least.
Yeah.
I chose to stop talking to my father just because I just felt like it was no point.
Yeah.
But I think as I grew more respect for how my grandmother has hustled and worked and kept a roof over her head and provided and really was there to support.
Gotcha.
Then I think it put like that wedge in between, like, really loving my mother the way I used to love her, and then it just kind of like just broke from that point.
Yeah.
So I think that was just like the struggle of my life, because my grandmother provided everything.
Yeah.
Like, I can say, like, we weren't rich.
Yeah.
But I felt spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I never did not have what I wanted. Like, I can ask my grandmother for anything, she would have gave it to me.
Yeah.
If she had to sacrifice a few little some, she's not going to tell you she sacrificed anything.
Yeah.
But just know when you came home, whatever you wanted was there.
Yeah.
So I think I grew like a real mad like respect and love for my grandmother and all that she's like provided for me in my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's really just like the only.
Yeah. So like when you, like, how did that, not having your parents around, or like how did that affect you, like as far as like your development, as far as your mentality, your emotionally, like.
I think when I was younger, like, it hurt more when I was younger.
Yeah.
I think because, like, it kind of made me feel like, ooh, like, dang, what did I do for you not to love me,
Yeah.
Or what did I do for you not to want to be around or be there? And it's like, I can't say they weren't, because, like, growing up, they were, but they were in and out.
Yeah.
So, like, 1 minute they'll, like, spend 2 days with you, and the next minute they'll be gone for a month.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back, spend 3 days with you, and then be gone for 2 months.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back, and it was just constantly, like, I'm here, then I'm gone.
Yeah.
And it was just, like, I think at some point, like, that started affecting me a little bit, because it was just like, why can't you always be here?
Yeah.
Why can't you always be around? Why can't you just stay in one spot?
Yeah.
And my grandmother, she tried to explain it in her best way, like, but to me, I think in my younger age, it wasn't enough, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I still wanted what I wanted, and that's one thing I can have, you know? And I think for me, it just made me not want to take life seriously.
Yeah.
Like, when I was in elementary, like, the one thing my sisters will definitely agree to was that I was one kid who played around, like, all my life. Like, I never took life seriously. I never took school seriously. My sisters, they'll tell you, like, out of all of us, she was so playful. Like, she never did anything seriously. And it's true.
Yeah.
And, like, I could be 30 and still act like a 12-year-old. Like, and they'll tell you, like, that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's just how I was. And they allowed me to be that.
Yeah.
Like, they allowed me to still act 5 when I was 10. And they allowed me to still do what I wanted. And, like, it was more on their way, I think, of, like, sheltering me a little bit. And just being like, all right, we're going to let her keep this mentality that she's kind of built herself.
Yeah.
We're not going to tear it down just yet. And I think it wasn't until I got maybe a little bit older, like, by middle school was when I, like, rebelled a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and then I started kind of doing what I wanted and, you know, running around and not saying where I was going, you know, just doing whatever.
Yeah.
And then I still was good. I just, you know, ventured a little bit.
Yeah. Was that your way of like dealing with not having your parents there, like being so carefree?
Yeah. I mean, because don't get me wrong, my grandmother was strict as heck.
Yeah.
Like, there are some times she was like, little girl, where you think you're going? Like, there was times when she, like, reeled me in and, like, humbled me a lot. But, like, there also were times where it was like, there's so many of us. And, like, being the third oldest is, like, being the middle. I think at that time, I was the middle kid.
Yeah.
And you know what they say about the middle kid? Like, you don't really pay attention to the middle kids, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you got the older ones who, like, want to run everything and act all grown and be like, I'm 12, but I'm acting like I'm 18, you know? And then you got the baby who, like, still needs that nurture and that care and that attention. Mm-hmm. And then you got the middle. The middle's the sneaky one. The one who can just, you know, dodge a few things, sneak out a little bit, come back. You'll never know they're gone. Yeah. That's what I was a little bit. You know, I was that middle child, the sneaky one. But, you know, I always did what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So, it was okay. To a degree. Yeah. Just don't get caught. Yeah. When you get caught, that's when the problem happens. But, you know.
And then your grandma had to hold it down.
Yeah. Chase you around the house with a belt and beat you. But, you know, that's a different story. But yeah. But I think at some point, you know, I think at some point I just took it upon myself to just be like, my grandmother's pretty much all I need, you know? Like, I had my grandfather too, he was around as well. And he spoiled us rotten, like, every toy that was ever created in the world we had. Everything, you know? So it was like, I felt like those two were enough. And I think, but it wasn't until I got older that I felt like that. Like, as I got older, I was like, instead of me being upset about what I don't have, why don't I appreciate what I do have? Yeah. And what I have is a grandmother who loves me, who cares, who has provided me with the world and more. And that's all I can ask for. You know? Yeah. So.
Did you ever have, like, discussions and conversations with your own parents about what you were feeling?
Oh, no.
No? Was it you didn't do it, or you feel like there wasn't an opportunity or willingness to be open to do it?
You know, I think as I got older, I felt like I didn't care.
Oh, okay.
I think at some point I just stopped caring. Yeah. Like, and
yeah, when you were younger, you wanted to.
Well, when I was younger, like, I wanted to. Like, there was times I wanted to just be like, well, there were times where, like, they would come and then leave, and then I'd be like, why? Why do you have to go? Why are you leaving? And they'll be like, oh, no, don't worry, we'll be back. And, like, deep down, you know, you're like, I know you won't be back. But it's like, okay, but, like, why can't you stay longer, you know? And it was just those moments where you, like, prolonged wanting them to be around. And then I think when I just grew up more, then I just kind of was just like, oh yeah, I know for a fact you ain't come back. Like, I'll see you like in 2 months. Like, you know? Yeah. And I think at that point I was just like, I just started being like, okay, see you later. All right, bye. Yeah. And I think as I like started hitting middle school, I started getting like more annoyed. And it was just like, okay, then just don't come around at all, you know? Oh yeah. Like, or, you know, just like why do you need to be here? Like, don't show up. But then you realize, oh, you're showing up because you need something. Oh, you're showing up because you want something. Yeah. Oh, like, you're not really showing up because you want to see us. You're just showing up just to show up. Yeah. Like, your mom called you, so you're coming. You know? Yeah. And, like, I think at some point, like, I started getting more annoyed with it. Versus, you know, and my younger sister was still like, oh, my God, mommy. And I'm just like, why? Like, why are you here? Like, what for? What's the point? And I think we ended up having, like, I think when I was, like, 16, we ended up having, like, an incident where, like, she came over and then, like, my grandmother was saying something to her, and then she didn't like what my grandmother was saying to her. Yeah. So then she was like cursing at my grandmother, and I was like, oh, like, wait a minute, like, hold up, like, who are you talking to? Yeah. Like, last time I checked, you're in my grandmother's house, under my grandmother's roof, eating my grandmother's food, sleeping on my grandmother's, you know, bed and couch and all that. Yeah. Like, let's revert where you're at before you sit here and start getting rude.
Yeah.
And like, I think at that point, like, she didn't appreciate me saying something. But at that point, I had to step back and be like, well, I don't appreciate you talking to her the way you're talking to her. Last time I checked, she's raising your kids while you get to run around the world and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I think at that point was then when me and her started kind of like this.
Yeah, falling.
Yeah, just like drifting.
Drifting apart.
And it just, and I think over the years it just got worse.
Yeah.
And we, at this point now, we just don't like each other. Like, we can't even be in the same room at this point because it's that bad.
Yeah.
And like my grandmother, she tries to respect, you know, the fact that we are what we are now, but like I still kind of feel like betrayed a little bit. So I'm like, if I don't like her, like y'all should like her. But I can't feel that way because I'm like, that's my grandmother's daughter.
Yeah.
And like, that's her only daughter. Like, my grandmother had 3 kids. She had 2 boys and a girl. It's like, that's her only girl. So it's like, I can't like force my grandmother to feel the way I feel. Yeah. But like, sometimes I wish she does.
Yeah.
And then sometimes she does, but then it never stays.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, but I have to like, you know, I have to deal with it sometimes. So it's like, I try to be the bigger person in life, but that is hard. Because I can, you know, be a little petty sometimes. And that just sometimes goes a little too far. But, you know, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like, try to, leave it at that.
I got you. So, you know, wow, you know, I know you grew up with a grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what, you know, what are the things that you saw about her? Like, I can tell she's one of the most important people in your life, right?
Oh yeah.
So, what are the biggest things that you learned from her? For your dad, just watching her raise you guys.
I learned how to hustle.
Yeah.
I think my grandmother's biggest thing was like hustle for what you like really work for what you got. Like like we I mean, don't get me wrong, like we grew up, I think when I was younger, like it was like we lived in like a 2-bedroom apartment and it was like 10 of us.
Yeah.
In a 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Heck no. And I think when I was younger, I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
But when you got older and you look back, you're like, 10 of us in a 2-bedroom? Like, what the heck was wrong? Like, but my grandmother was the type, like, she took care of everybody.
Yeah. Like,
my grandmother, she had her 3 kids, and then my grandfather had his 7. But my grandfather raised, I think my grandmother helped him raise, she helped taking like 2 of his kids. Mm-hmm. So like all together, like my grandmother had her 5 or whatever, and then she had her 5, and then we came along. Mm-hmm. So imagine them 2, 5, and then you got like 3 other kids. Mm-hmm. So it was like, it was a lot of us, you know? And my grandmother, she was the type like, I'm not going to turn nobody away. Like, if you need me, I'm there. Like, I'm going to support you in the best way. And her and my grandfather, they were together for a long time. Like, they raised all their kids together or whatever. So there was a lot of us.
Yeah. And
I think she taught me just how to, like, take the little that you have and just stretch it.
You make something out of it.
And then make it work. Yeah. You know, like, I may have a 2-bedroom, I'm going to have a 2-bedroom, I'm going to have whoever needs me to be there, you know, and we're gonna lock it in together. Yeah. So we had bunk beds and rooms and together, and we was cozy up like it was a slumber party every day, you know. Yeah. And I respect that about her because she took care of kids that weren't hers, and she took care of hers, and then she continued to take care of kids that weren't hers, you know. Like, and even when my mother had all her kids, my grandmother was the type, she was like, if I can provide a space for them, why don't I? You know, and as she took in 1, then she took in 2. She took in 2, then she took in the 3rd, then the 4th, then the 5th. And then when we had the 6th, it was like, I'm tired. And like, we barely even took in the 6th. Like, the 6th, we barely took. Yeah. But there was something in my grandmother, she was like, I seen that baby, I held that baby, and I had to have her. Yeah. And I was like, girl, like, just walk away. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
But it was, it's just it's the love and the how to really build a life off of the little that you have. And I think that's kind of just the thing that I've taken a lot now from my grandmother, is how to like really stretch a dollar, how to really, love somebody who needs that extra love or needs that extra attention or needs that extra just support, Mm-hmm. And that's what my grandmother's been. She's been a huge support. And like, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at now if it wasn't for her. Mm-hmm. Because, man, like, I was all over the place. I think, like, elementary, like, as I went back, like, elementary, I played. Like, I played around too much.
Yeah.
To a point where, I actually had to repeat a grade. Because
yeah.
I was, like, back then we had a teacher who, like, was always sick. She was always out. She was always gone. Always had a doctor's appointment here, doctor's appointment there, dentist appointment here. Like, she was never around. So the class was like, oh, we finna be lit. Like, we got substitute all year. This whole year we finna just do what we want.
Yeah. And
it seemed like she just came back and was just like, you. Y'all stay back. Everybody else, 4th grade, here you go. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But to me, like, and then, the crazy part? Like, when she did that, I was mad, right? Yeah. When I was, like, I'm trying to think. When I was in, like, I think the 9th grade, mm-hmm. I ran into her.
Oh.
Do you know what she had the nerve to say to me?
What she said?
I'm so glad I failed you.
Oh, damn.
I said, what? She said, yeah. She was like, that was the best decision I ever made. She was like, because now, like, she was like, you're this type of person. I said, oh, woman, no. Like, I got beat for that? No. I'm like, girl, like, that, whose decision was that for?
Yeah.
Was that for me or for you?
Did she give you the reason why she failed you?
No, she was just like, no, she did. She was like, I think she said something like, she's like, you just didn't take anything serious in life.
Oh, okay.
And she was like, I felt like you needed a start over to become something better. Yeah. But I was still younger then, so I was like, girl, that's not the decision, that's my mama's decision. Yeah. And she was like, I think she understood like why I was upset. Yeah. But like, she still was just like, I'm happy I did that. Like, I'm happy I stuck to my decision. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not happy, woman. Like, I could have been like hella grades ahead, doing something else, like, But like, I think as I got older, I took a step back and I was like, alright, I understand why you did it. Yeah, I was mad about it, I was upset about it, but I think as I took a step back when I got older, and like my mom like recently, my mom brought it up and she was like, maybe it was a good idea for you to repeat that grade. And I was like, well, why do you feel that way, Mom? I was like, because I was upset. And she was like, because she was like, you enjoyed life. Like, out of all the kids, we can really say you enjoyed life. Yeah. Like, you did what you wanted, you played around, like, you had your fun, and you enjoyed life. But she was like, I felt like maybe you taking a step back and, like, repeating that grade, that helped you grow up a little bit. Because, like, when I did repeat, like, I was upset. But I did take that 3rd period a little more serious. Like, that 3rd grade. That 2nd repeat, I did take a little more serious. And then, like, when I hit the 4th, then I was like, alright, like, I'm ready, right? But I still had my moments. Yeah. And she was like, you still had your moments, but you stepped up and did what you needed to do. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, you're not where you need to be now. But she was like, I feel like that's going to be okay later on. Yeah. Because I think when I was like in the 2nd grade, this is when I was still going to school out here, I guess my teachers told my mom, like my grandmother, like, oh, I think something's wrong with her. Like, I don't think she's not going to be able to learn how to read and write when she gets older. Mm-hmm. Like, she's gonna need a little more assistance, right? And my mom felt like, well, why would you say that about my kid? Like, what, like, what made you think that? And she was like, well, her reading and her writing's a little off. And mom was like, yes, but I know she's gonna do great things when she gets older.
Yeah.
And I think like that made my grandma feel like,
some type of way.
Yeah, like, what do you mean, like, something wrong with my kid, you know? And I think when I repeated the third grade, she was like, I think she took it as, oh, they were right. But then I think when I was able to, like, really show her that I could do it, she was like, I think you just needed an extra push. Like, you just need somebody. I think she was like, you need somebody to see the good in you to motivate you to do better. And I was like, no. No. But then I think as I got older, like, I understood, like, okay, maybe you're right. Like, maybe I did need somebody, like, to see the better in me to make me do better. Yeah. And I think as my teacher did that, like, she wasn't doing it to be malicious, but she was doing it to just be like, if I would have passed you, what good would you have done?
You probably would continue the same.
Yeah, she was like, what good would you have done?
Yeah.
And my mom tried to explain it too. She was like, really, if she'd have passed you, like, what good would you have done? Like, would you have done better, or would you continue to do the same thing? And then the next teacher fails you. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I see your logics now, and it instilled me, okay, like, I need to step up to the plate and be better. Yeah. And I think as the higher grades I've gotten, I've kind of progressed more into being better. And then high school, I was like, I was like, middle, high. I think high school, I was like, I'm just gonna, do a little something different. Okay. But I graduated. Yeah. So.
All right, let's get right into it. Alrighty. All right, so let's talk about your high school years. I know you did.
Oh, high school.
I know you did mention earlier that everything went up, and then during high school, boom, a little dip.
So I wouldn't say it went like up. It was like more like a shoot.
So so talk about it. Let's talk about how was your experience in high school, and what are the things you went through in high school that, what are the things you went through that kind of shaped, good or bad?
One thing I can say, high school was fun.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed high school maybe a little too much. Yeah. Freshman year I came in, and freshman year was fun. Freshman year was more of a get to know high school. It was like a introduction to like, okay, this isn't middle school. Like, middle school was like fun, and you had the periods and the fun times. But high school is the big kids, the big world, And I think coming into like freshman year, I was like, all right, freshman year, like, I'm just gonna lay low, I'm gonna scope out everything. But I went to Castle, and my sisters went to Castle. Yeah. So going to a school that your sisters went to, you know everybody. Yeah. Everybody. Not by nature, just because like you're so and so sister. Like, oh, you're so and so sister. Oh, you're so. I'm just like, no, I'm me. Yeah. If all I want to be like, no, I'm me. Like, yeah, I'm so and so, but I'm me. Yeah. Like, I have a name. Yeah. I'm me. And like back then, like Castlemont was like broken up into like 3 schools. So there was like leadership, then there was CBITS, then there was EOSA. And like EOSA was more like the art school, CBITS was like the business technology, and leadership, we just some leaders. But like it was kind of just like everyone was cool with everyone, but like sometimes you'd be like EOSA or leadership or thing. And you gotta rep your little small little building, right? Yeah. So like going there was like my older sister went to leadership, but my second older sister went to EOSA. Yeah. So it was like I always had people from each end like, oh, you're so and so, oh, you're so and so sister, oh, you're that. So like I came in like kind of knowing everybody, and it wasn't a bad thing. Like I thought it was pretty fun. Like I got to go to prom all 4 years. So if that's not lucky, I don't know what is. But that was just because like I've always hung out with people older than me. And I think, like, having my two older sisters, I've always wanted to be like, who you guys hang out with? I want to hang out with. Like, that's just where I want to be at. Yeah. And so, like, I think that kind of made me a little bit grow up a little bit more, because it was like, I was a freshman, kicking it with like juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
And then when I was a sophomore, I was kicking it with juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
And then when I was a junior, I was like, nah, I'm just kicking with seniors.
Yeah.
And then when I became a senior, I was like, when I became a junior, I was like kicking it with the seniors, but I was still kicking it with my own kind. I was like, all right, I'm a junior, so I'm kicking with all the juniors now.
Yeah.
And then when I was a senior, I kicked it with the seniors, but then I went down and kicked it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna bring up the freshmen.
Yeah,
So I was kicking with the freshmen, just kind of like, showing them the ropes a little bit, because then I started becoming a peer leader and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had to like take the freshmen and the sophomores under my wings and kind of, expand them a little bit. But freshman year was like an introduction. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna lay low, be cool. But then sadly, like, my sisters played sports. Well, my older sister played sports, and then the middle one was more like the dance and all that. So I mostly followed in my older sister's footsteps. So she played sports, I played sports.
What she played?
She played softball.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't want to play. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
But she was really good. And my coach was like, oh, you're so-and-so sister? Let's go. Like, it wasn't even a come try it out, come see how you like it. It was a, oh, you're so-and-so sister? Let's go.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I don't know how to play. He's like, don't worry, I'm going to teach you.
Yeah.
I said, but I didn't really want to play sports right now. He
Yeah.
was like, oh, no, you're okay. And it was just like, I had no choice. So he was like, let's go. So I was like, freshman, playing softball, and I was just looking like, I didn't want to really do this. I was like, I'm gonna play sports sophomore year, and then and then go all through. He was like, yeah, no, like, if I'm coaching, you're playing. Mm-hmm. That's how he was. If I'm coaching, you're playing. And I was like, all right, well, let's do this then. Yeah. So then I played softball, and then sophomore year I played softball again, but then I ended up also playing volleyball. So I played volleyball, softball, and then my coach wanted to be nice to the track coach, and then they made us all play track. So then I was track, volleyball, softball. So it is like each season we just did something new. So we were always busy. Not by choice. But it was fun. Like, you got to kind of like really like, build bonds and build friendships. And I think that's where I kind of built a lot of my friendships at, was just playing sports. Yeah. It was like, that's like your second family, because like those are the people you're with the most besides your regular friends at school. It's like you go to school, you go to practice, you go home. Yeah. It's the same thing every day. So it was like freshman year I kind of just was like, all right, got into playing sports, and then freshman year that was great, like straight A's, 4.0, like I was doing good. And then sophomore year I was, I was still doing well. And then I think I started getting into like the friends and the social life, and then we had an incident sophomore year where we actually lost one of our students to gun violence. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where my life like kind of started like leveling out. Yeah. Because like I've been a kid who's always been sheltered. Like I've always lived kind of in a shelter. Like I've never really lost people in my life. Yeah. I've never really had to deal with like deaths or passings. Yeah. Like I've never had those things until I got to high school. And like by sophomore year when we lost one of our classmates, like that was a very devastating time for a lot of us, and it like really impacted our school a lot, and that kind of affected, because like I low-key was like there when it happened. Yeah. So like it was like a traumatic incident. Yeah. And that kind of affected me a little bit, because I was like, ooh, life is short. Like, what is this? Yeah. And it wasn't, and it wasn't like I rebelled after that, but it was more of a, I went back to like a little bit like, my carefree life again, like, like, we're gonna go back to, not taking everything so seriously in life, like we're gonna have a little fun but still be serious at the same time. And academics was important, but like, you know, they had to be important because I play sports.
Mm-hmm.
And my coach was like, oh, if you're not taking life serious, like, you're gonna be benched. And I'm like, ooh, I can't be benched. Like, otherwise you're gonna kill me. So let me take school seriously.
Yeah.
But you know, I still have my ups and downs with school. Like, you know, still subjects I hated.
Yeah.
History being one. But you know, it was more so just like up and down.
Yeah.
But I think by junior year was when I had to like step it up and like start taking it seriously, because my counselor like pulled me in the office and she was like, so we have an issue. And I'm like, what's the issue? She was like, well, we need you to graduate now. And I was like, why? And then like my mom was like, well, you know, there's some paperwork that says like, you know, you're not in your right grade because I, you know, repeated. They're like, you know, we kind of need you to like graduate now so that, I couldn't remember, it was like some like social work paperwork that they needed from the school for me to be able to graduate on time. So I was like, so what does that mean? They're like, well, so it means, you know, you gotta do your junior and senior year at the same time.
Oh wow.
And I was like, what? Like, you're not just gonna skip the grade?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta do both? And they're like, yeah. So junior year, I was taking like senior classes, junior classes. I even did my senior project. Like, I was like at school like daily. Like, I would have night classes, I had regular classes on top of that. Like, so then at some point I had to like take a break on playing sports.
Yeah. Because
I was like, I can't play sports and try to take 2 years at the same time.
Yeah.
And like that became like stressful. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. My mom's like, you can. I'm like, no, like this is too much. I'm like, I'm taking regular stuff. I'm taking AP stuff. I'm taking this. I'm taking that. I'm doing this and doing that. I'm like I'd rather not. And then I think at some point we sat down with my counselor and my mom was just like, I think this is too much on her. Like she's doing her best and she's trying, but like we just can't make this happen. So then luckily she was like, all right, it's fine. Like we're not gonna try to make that happen. And then I was like, thank you. Like I need a break. And then, but it was helpful though, because by senior year I was taking as many classes.
Yeah.
Like I already took econ. I already took government. I already did my senior project. I already took, what else was it? I think I already took econ, government, and then I think math. So all I had to take was like English, other stuff. But then I had an issue with my English teacher. Like, you know, like, so back then for us, like, English, they kind of mixed English and government kind of together. So it was like a 2-in-1 class. So my English teacher, like, she was requiring like all this stuff of us. Like we were taking essays every day, and we had like literally an essay like every other week. So, you know, she'll give us a week, we do a whole essay or a whole paragraph, and then next we have another paper, and next we have another, and it was just like back-to-back stuff. And I was like, oh, this is too much. So then I ended up like failing the first semester of English. And then she was like, you know, if you fail my second semester, like, you won't graduate. Yeah. And I was like, so then what can I do? Yeah. And I'm literally sitting in her class like, so what can I do? And she's like, well, there's nothing you can do. And I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing I can do? She's like, if you pass all of this stuff and get A's, she was like, it still won't make up for the fact. She's like, it still won't make up your grade. Yeah. I'm like, so then what am I supposed to do about your class? And she's like, well, just keep coming and keep taking it. And she was like, we'll try to figure something out. And I was like, oh yeah, no, that's not happening. Yeah. So then I went back to my counselor and I told her, I said, so my English teacher said that there's nothing I could do to pass. Yeah. Like, so what's my next option? Yeah. And she's like, well, you're already, so back then they created this class called Cyber High, which is pretty much online class. So say you fail like English, like freshman year, you take it online, and then you get your credit. So it's like you pretty much do all the work online, and then like it's like a course, like kind of like college,
yeah,
like
extra credit online.
Yeah, it's kind of like college, you know, college courses. You take all the stuff online, and then like hybrid classes. Yeah. So it's like that, and you just take everything online, and then like once you like pass your final, then it's like you'll get your grade. Mm-hmm. So I had to do that. Mm-hmm. So I literally was like, all right, if I'm already taking these 2 classes that are high, can I just add the second semester of English?
Yeah.
And then she was like, you can, but you have to get your teacher to sign off.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck? She don't even like me.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's like, I can't approve it until she signs off for me, because that means I had to drop her class to take that class.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I go, and then she's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean no?
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not signing it. I said, well, why not? She
Yeah.
said, because you need to be in my class. I said, why do I need to be in your class? And she was like, because she was like, my class is what's going to help you do your senior project.
Yeah.
I said, I don't have to do one.
Yeah.
She's like, why? I said, because I did mine last year.
Yeah.
She said, why? I said, because I had to freaking graduate last year, so they made me do it last year, so they approved me not to do it this year.
Yeah.
She said, well, I need to see it. I said, that's... what? And we were going back and forth, and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, so then I ended up having to go back to the counselor, and she's like, all right, well, let me talk to her. And I was like, exactly, because my counselor was in my senior project proposal. Because, like, once you do your senior project, then you have to present it to a bunch of teachers. She was there.
Yeah.
So I was like, she was here. She can tell you I took it. So then she goes, she talks to her, and she goes, so she did take it, and then she explained my situation. And then she goes, okay, well, you still need to be in my class. I said, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Why am I in your class if you're still going to fail me second semester and I'm
Yeah.
not going to graduate?
Yeah.
And she's like, you need to be present to understand everything. And I was like, no. I was like, if I got questions, I'll ask somebody else in cyber high. Like, I don't got time for you.
Yeah.
And then she finally, like, agreed to sign it, but then goes, if you fail, she's like, if you fail, then that's on you. No, she goes, if you don't graduate, that's your fault.
Yeah.
I said, woman, if I stay with you and don't graduate, then it's your fault.
Yeah.
So what you want to do? Because if I don't graduate and it's your fault, I'm gonna go to jail. So I'm gonna fight you. Okay, like, I don't got time.
Yeah.
And she was like offended by that, and I was like, oh well, like, you're not gonna tell me that if I flunk and that's my fault, like, and you won't even like help me pass. Like, you're not supporting me in any kind of way. So I was like, I got to go. Like, no. So then I ended up taking half of my class in cyber high, because I was like, I really gotta graduate, y'all. Like, I don't got time for this. So I'm literally sitting in cyber high, like, taking everything, and literally, like, maybe 3 days before graduation, I like ended up passing all my classes. And I was sitting in the we had like a college center, and I was sitting in the college center like, I'm done. I'm done. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? I said, I passed all my classes with B's. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Here comes the stage. I'm gone. And they're like looking at me like I was crazy, and I was like, y'all don't understand, bro. I've been stressing all year. I got to go. And then my counselor was like, I'm proud of you. I said, girl, I know. I'm proud of myself too. She's like, no, for real. She's like, you were able to find solutions to your problem. She was like, you seen a problem, you fixed it, and now you're graduating. I was like, girl, y'all don't want me here another year. That's why. I was like, I had to go. I said, I don't want to be here. Y'all don't want me to be here. I got to go.
Yeah.
Because, like, high school, like, you know, my thing was, I think growing up, like, I was kind of, like, my mom can tell you this, like, my whole motto was, you gotta give respect to get respect.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of teachers felt like, I'm the teacher, I know best, what I say goes.
They just want your respect. They don't want to
And
earn
my
it.
thing was, okay, like, you're an adult, congratulations. You went through your school days, happy for you. But don't think that I'm just supposed to automatically respect you because you say I have to.
Yeah.
That doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to cut it. Like, it's not going to happen. And they felt some type of way about that. And I was like, that's like me walking in and saying, give me my respect because you have to.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's like me being the principal and telling the teacher, give me my respect because you have to give it to me.
Yeah.
I'm your boss. You got to give it to me.
Yeah.
Like, if people walk around being like that, like, ain't nobody gonna like you or want to respect you or want to be around you.
Yeah.
So for a teacher to feel like, I'm a teacher, you have to respect me, I'm like, I don't got to do anything. And like, that got me in trouble a lot in high school.
Yeah.
Like, me standing up and being like, I deserve respect just as much as you do.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm a student, but I deserve the same respect you deserve. Like, if I'm coming to your class every day, answering your questions in class and doing my work, and you don't think you deserve to respect me on top of that, like, oh no. So teachers used to be like, you know what, I just can't deal with you. And I'm like, respect me then. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel like you have to get something from me. Like, I don't owe you anything. Like, you're, technically, I pay you to be here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, the government pays me to come to school, which pays your check.
Yeah.
So I pay you to be here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, don't feel like I have to respect you. Like, it just goes equal. Like, let's all feel like we equally need to respect each other. And that's what a lot of teachers didn't understand back then. And, like, I think that's what kind of made me a lot more mad, too. Because I'm like, what the heck? Like, this isn't working. So, I think my junior year was when they ended up creating this program called Real Hard. And it was a program that allowed students to work alongside with teachers and the principal to help create better environments for the students.
Yeah.
So, like, if we had, like, something that we wanted to discuss along with the teachers and the principals, like, we sat all down together and talked about it. So, like, when we had, like, a lot of, like, fights or, like, a lot of, like, issues in the school, like, we kind of helped create, like, awareness in the school. But it was giving the students a voice to be able to stand up and say, this is how I feel. What can we do to fix this?
Yeah.
Instead of teachers just being like, okay, I'm the teacher, I know what's best,
Yeah.
we'll just do it my way.
Yeah.
But teachers need to understand that as students going to school here and living in these environments, like, we go through our own stuff as well.
Yeah.
So how can we give you guys an insight on our life, and then you give us an insight on the real world, and then come together to make our schools better? And, like, we had location, we did it in, like, all the other high schools as well. And then we would come together at the end of the year, and we'll go on retreats with, like, all the other 4 schools. And then we would sit down and we would kind of explain to the other schools, like, how we were able to fix the issues in our school. And then they'll do the same thing, tell us how they fix theirs, and then we will come together and, like, they'll help us figure out how we could come up with more ideas to help our school, and then we'll help them come up with more ideas to help their school. And it was, like, something we did every year. And it was super fun. And we even got paid for it. Like, they paid each student, like, a stipend of a certain amount of money each semester. And it kind of, like, helped, like, motivate the kids more to, like, get involved in their community or get involved in their school. And, like, I did that for, like, the last 2 years of my high school. And then I came back once I graduated and then worked again with the program with the previous students that were there. And then I did that for a good, like, 2-3 years. And then I ended up taking a different route in life and then kind of going off and doing other stuff. But high school is, like, a challenge, I think, for me, because it was fun, but at the same time, like, I think as I got higher up in the levels, like, I had to, like, realize, how can I help kind of build my school and also kind of help myself, you know, because I was, like, battling with myself a lot, and I was battling with, like, school and family, and I was, you know, trying to figure out where can I like find a balance.
Yeah.
More so, like, where can I find a balance? Like, because I was involved in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, besides sports, then I had the program, and then I felt like, you know, I was being pulled in so many different directions that it was like, you know, where do I fit in, you know? And I think once I graduated was where I felt like, okay, maybe being a teacher, you know, that kind of it was like, maybe if I go out and be a teacher, you know, maybe, like, that's my calling.
Yeah.
So then I gave that a try. So then after I graduated, I went back and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try teaching. And that's why I did after school programs.
Okay.
And then I was like, ooh, teaching ain't for me. These kids, and they know, like, forget you a student. So I was like, maybe teaching's not for me.
Yeah.
But then I did like working a lot with younger kids.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
you can hang out with the kids and give back to their parents.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
So I did that for a little bit. And then I was like, all right, well, maybe teaching's not for me. So then I kind of was like, all right, what's my next goal? Like, where else in life do I go from here? So I think when I graduated high school, I initially was like trying to decide, like, do I go to college? Do I not go to college? Do I, just get a job and work? Like, what do I do? So I think I ended up going to Berkeley City, and I was like, I'm gonna be, like, I wanted to be, like, growing up, I wanted to be a doctor. I was like, I'm gonna be a pediatrician.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, I love kids. I love taking care of people. Like, I think this is my calling. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, no. No, I did it. I went to school for like a year for it, and then life kind of hit, and then I ended up having like a car accident like a few years back, and that like set me back a little bit. So I was like, ooh, like that was a life-changing experience. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever had a car accident, like that's changing.
Yeah.
And it was scary, and it kind of put me in like a, ooh, like where do I go from here with my life? Like, so it kind of like set me back a little bit, and it took some time, like my physical therapy and stuff like that, because I like busted up my knee, busted up my shoulder.
Hey.
Yeah, and it kind of like I had to like go through physical therapy to kind of like get it all back the way it was, and even now my knee still is like, I'm like 80 years old with me sometimes. I feel like I'm just like crib walking half time, like, ooh, it's the cold, my knee hurt.
Yeah.
But it took time, and like that kind of, it made my mom be like, well, like maybe this was a sign, like maybe this was something that you needed to go through for you to understand, like you need to do better.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe you're right. You know, you never tell your parents that, right? Because then that just leads to something totally different.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, maybe you're right. Like, maybe I need to slow down.
Yeah.
And be better. And she was like, just listen more. All you gotta do is just listen. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. But I think after that, like, I did go back to college, but then I went back and was like, I don't think I want to be a doctor no more.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's next?
Yeah.
So I think I went for a few years with an undecided major, and then I decided to take a break, and then I ended up working I ended up like job hunting. I jumped from jobs to jobs, because I was like, what do I want to do? I don't know. Let's just jump from job to job and see what like attracts my attention.
Yeah.
So I think my first ever job, I was like a waitress at like this Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was like one of my favorite jobs. I like loved it. And then I think from there, then I jumped to working at Safeway. And then I think after that, I jumped from working at Starbucks, and I did that for a couple years. And then I ended up moving to Starbucks again, but this one was in the airport.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm in the airport. Why don't I get an airport job?
Yeah.
So then I think after some years after that, then I jumped to working. Oh no, actually I skipped a bunch of jobs. I jumped from the airport, Starbucks, and then I went to FedEx, and then I went to a golf course, and then I went back to Starbucks, and then I went to the airport. I was like, my mom was like, why do you keep jumping from jobs? I was like, I don't, I'm trying to find the one that's my calling.
Yeah, trying to figure out.
Trying to figure out my calling job, okay? Yeah. And she was like, no, you need to sit down. Like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I don't know, girl. But they get on my nerves and I leave. So then I jumped from the airport, and then from there I just kind of like moved around like different airlines. Okay. And then now I'm still in the airport now. So the airport's kind of kept me flat.
It's all good. All right, so I know you're African American.
Yes.
All right. So I do want to talk about that. So what's your experience of growing up being an African American woman? And because I know in our society there's a lot of things you have to go through based on your ethnicity, right? So just like I just want to ask you, like, how was that experience?
The one thing I can say is like I've never had to experience nothing.
Yeah.
Like, by the grace of God, don't want to, jinx myself. Yeah. But growing up, I've never really had to like experience anything.
Yeah.
A lot of my I think living out here, like a lot of schools I went to were like, they were kind of mixed around. Yeah. Like, you know, it's kind of bad to say, but like I like lived in white neighborhoods and all that. You know, so it wasn't too crazy, but like I've been able to live good. You know, when I moved to Oakland, like I first moved like on 66, and like all the houses next to mine, you know, we lived around like a lot of like Latinos, and I lived around like a lot of other black people as well. So it was like, you know, it was a mixed community, and it was good. Like we never had any issues, you know. So like I've always kind of lived good. Like I've never had to like deal with like, oh, the color of your skin's an issue, you know. Like I've never had that problem. I think until like maybe now, until you like look out into the world and just like see what's happening. Like even then, it's like I still have been blessed to not have to physically deal with it myself. You know, like unfortunately, like a lot of other people have had to deal with it, but like I haven't had that issue. So it's a blessing.
That's good. I can understand because you grew up in Oakland. Right? So Oakland is a lot of African American, black people out there. So like, so you don't. I think that makes sense. You know, that makes sense. You didn't go if you.
And my school definitely was like African American based. Like it was like Latinos, African Americans, polys. Like that was just a mix. But it was like, you know, I've always been surrounded by them, so it was never like I felt, you know, like any type of way about it. So, you know, I've been lucky.
Alright, so I do want to talk about it because I know you have a lot of poly friends.
Yes.
I know some of your best friends are poly.
They are.
So I do want to talk about that, and also to talk about your experience with Polynesians, and I know for me as a Polynesian, I have a lot of friends that are non-polys, and they're some of my best friends because I can confide with them and talk to them about things I go through that may not necessarily be talked about within my own Polynesian community. So, do you want to talk about that? Just talk about your experience with Polynesians, you know, the culture, and then just talk about, you know, the things that you've gone through and what you see Polynesians, what they go through, and the things they struggle with from looking from the outside in.
So from the outside in, I mean, the one thing I can say is I do have an appreciation for the culture. I feel like a lot of times, I think like growing up a little bit, like I've had times where I've had to like argue with people, be like, oh, you want to be this, or oh, you want to act like this, and I'm like, it's never me acting like something that I'm not. But it's more so giving an appreciation for something that I've gotten to learn more about. And I think being around a lot of polys it was never like something like, oh, that's just what I want to be around. Like that's just who I'm choosing to be around. That just so happens to be people who, you know, who care about me, who've like shown love, who've shown support, who's been there for me in times. And it's never about like culture when you first get to know somebody. It's more about who's there for you, like who's supporting you, who's having your back, who's there. And like they've been some people who've been there, who've had my back and supported me in times that I've needed support. So being surrounded by them has given me a huge appreciation for just like the culture and the type of people that they are. Like they're super loving and super caring, and you know, they're people that you can have fun with, and they're people who, you know, sometimes you go through hard times and battles with. And you know, that's just something that I've kind of grown to appreciate a little bit of. I think seeing how they like are raised has sometimes given me an appreciation for how I'm raised. Because like I feel like sometimes it can be hard. Like I feel like sometimes like polys go through a lot sometimes, just like, especially like, you know, with the girls trying to just show like, oh, this is like, how do I want to say this? I feel like a lot of times how I feel like sometimes how like the girls kind of have to be this way and the guys have to kind of be this way. Like I feel for that sometimes.
Yeah.
Cause I'm like, ooh, like I don't like this.
Yeah.
Like I feel like even like when being around my best friend, like me and my best friend, we used to be around each other all the time.
Yeah.
And like her brothers and like her cousins and all them, like we were all like really close. And like sometimes they would treat me like a part of the family, and I'd be like, oh, I don't like this. Like y'all, like the boys would be out doing whatever they want, and then we'll just be like at home chilling. I'll be like, yeah, no, like we finna go out too. Like they got us messed up. They not gonna just be having us like. And then when we see each other out in public, then the boys be like, what y'all doing here? I'm like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And then my brother be like, I'm doing what I want to do. But okay, I am too. Like,
yeah.
What are you like? So it's like sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's just hard. Like, y'all deal with it on a daily, and I only deal with it when I'm around certain people. And I'm like, even for me, it's stressful.
Yeah.
Like, even for me, I'm just like, oh no, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Like, like it's hard, you know. And to deal with it on a daily has to be even 20 times harder.
Yeah.
I think there's like a few years back where we had like a FHE program, and then for those who don't know, like a family home evening, where we kind of just like sat around, we like talked about mental health, and we talked about like how it is to like go through something or deal with something secretly and not be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
And the impact of that was like tough, because it's like you really are like, you're expected so much to do this, and when you try your hardest to like be that way for somebody else, and you're not allowed to like really be who you really are, that's hard.
Yeah.
Like to walk around and pretend to be somebody that you're not is hard.
Yeah.
And like to really have to go through that, if it messes up your brain. And I've seen a lot of my friends like try and go through something that they're not, and try and be something that they're not, and I'm not saying that they're doing it to do it, but they're doing it to make the person they do it for love them more.
To please them.
Like they're pleasing people.
Yeah.
And it's like to please somebody instead of pleasing yourself.
Yeah.
Like, when does it end?
Yeah.
Like that's how when you're sitting there thinking about it, you're like, when does this end? Like, when can I please myself? And then sometimes you feel like, oh, you're 18. It's time to please yourself.
Yeah.
And then for them to like, no, it's more like 21.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you're 21. Like, when is the time? And they're like, oh no, it's when you get married. When you get like, I think I'm like, what? Like, you have to get married to then live your best life? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, so then when you get married, then what? Like, are you supposed to live your best life with your husband, or are you supposed to, like, you know?
Now you're
and
pleasing
then
your husband.
and then so then that just turns into, when do you please yourself?
Yeah.
So I think me being around a lot of polys, it was more so just about like helping them kind of be able to like be themselves and step out a little bit. Like for my best friend, like there a lot of times like when she was able to like leave the house, like her mom be like, are you going with Nettie? And she's like, yeah. She's like, all right, go. And it was more so like I was more of her like a scapegoat. Like it was like, oh, if I want to go somewhere, if I want to do something, if I want to get out, it's like I gotta be with Nettie, you know? Yeah. And like that kind of sucked for her a little bit, because it was just like, you know, she didn't always live like that, but it was just like when we were a little bit younger, it was that's how it was. Yeah. And then I think as we got older, like it was that same way. And then it was just like, when do you live your best life? Yeah. Like me and her went to Vegas. Yeah. That was the hardest getaway ever. And it wasn't the planning, it wasn't the going, it was the convincing to go was the problem. And like it was more like, what are you guys going there for? Like, there's nothing good out there. And we're like, it's a vacation. Yeah. Like, we're all adults. Like, because at the time, like, I was 23, I think, and she was 22. Mm-hmm. Or, no, I think I was 25. I was either 24 or 25, and she was like 23. So we were like, we just never been. I was like, we've never been. We just want to go on a best friend trip together.
Yeah.
Right? And like, just the convincing us to go was like pulling teeth. It was like going to the dentist and getting your wisdom tooth pulled.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. It was like, what the heck? But it was like, after a while, it was like, once we finally were able to, convince convince her mom to let us go, like, her mom still was like not okay with it, but we still went.
Yeah.
And like, we kind of had to like show her like, okay, we went, we're back, like, everything's good.
Yeah.
Right? But for her mom, it was more of a, I just wanted to be with you.
Yeah.
And we were like, but why? And she was like, you guys can do what you want, I just want to be there. And we're like, okay, Mom, but like, we just want to go, like, just us.
Yeah.
And then, we'll come back. It was like a 4-day trip. It was 4 days.
Yeah.
4-day trip. And her mom was just like, no, but I need to be there. And we're like, but why, Mom? And she's like, because I just need to be there. Like, I need to make sure that everything's okay. And we're like, you have to just trust that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, just trust us to go.
Yeah.
And, like, we went, we had fun, and we came back. And when we came back, like, we literally, when we went, we had to cut our phones off.
Yeah.
Because her mom kept calling us. Like, then her brother called us. And then her dad called us. And we're like, oh. Like, so we was like, you know what? We should shut our phones off.
Yeah.
Cut it off. So we did that. And then when we came back, we, like, the first place we stopped at was her house.
Yeah.
We went to her house. And I was like, all right. Like, bye. And then she was like, you're not going to come up? I'm like, oh, my God, sis. I'm not going up there.
Yeah, I don't hear that.
And she was like, but we gotta go say, you gotta go say hi to Mom. I'm like, oh. So we go up there, and like, the minute we walk the door, her mom starts crying. And we're like, why are you crying? And she's like, I'm just so happy you guys are back.
Yeah.
And we were like, why? And she was like, I don't know. She's like, I just want to make sure that you guys are okay. And she's like, I'm just happy to see that you guys are back. And we're like, Mom, like, we're here, we're back, we're okay. I'm like, but you have to, like, trust that we're able to, like, do this and then come back. Mm-hmm. And she was like, she's like, it's not that I don't trust you guys. She's like, it's just, you're going somewhere that you've never been. And I was like, well, that's the point of us being able to get out and do stuff, right? That's us being able to get out and do stuff. I'm like, as we got older, like, we have to be able to, like, take adventures and be able to see the world and understand things and then come back. But you have to be able to trust that we'll do that and come back.
Yeah.
And we did it, and, she was like, next time, just take me with you. And we're like, we promise. Because it was it was a last minute trip. But we're like, okay, we'll take you next time. And she's like, okay, I'm okay now. We're just like, what the heck? But like, when her brother left for college, it was like,
yeah,
go, have fun.
Yeah,
enjoy.
they didn't think about it.
Yeah, it was like, go, have fun, enjoy. And we're like, all right. So, I think seeing that was just, like, difficult. Because we're like, we are expected so much of this while they're expected so much of this. And it's like, where does the balance come in? Like, where can we, like, be able to do the same thing and then, like, still get the same love and respect out of it than them? So I think, like, that was just, like, the hardest thing, having to, like, witness, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, there was times I went through it myself, and I'm like, right now, like, I have, like, her little brother, like, I see as, like, my little brother. So, like, there's times, like, he'll see me, and he'll be like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, who's older? Like, and he's like, you are, but I'm taller. And I'm like, okay. But I'm like, I'm enjoying life right now. And he's like, no, like, you need to go home. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm gonna go home in a second. Like, calm down. He's like, all right. He's like, let me know where you go. He's like, let me know when you're leaving. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, let me know when you get home. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, dang, who's older? Yeah. And then it's just like, so it's like, sometimes, like, dealing with it, I'm like, oof, this is why I only got sisters. Because having a brother, I'd probably, like, always be locked away, you know? But it was cool. It's cool experiencing it to like really understand like the stuff that like we like they go through, you know, and like I feel like for me it's like all I can do is sometimes be a support system for them. It's like to vent, like if you gotta just vent, like oh my god, like your brother just pissed you off and your parents are yelling at you about that, and like it's like and using the vent, like I've just been there as a support system, you know, like I'm there to just show you like, you know, you're not alone, you're not by yourself, like I'm here to support you. Call me, like, and I tell friends like y'all can call me anytime. You know, I might be asleep, but I'm gonna answer. I may be asleep, but I'm gonna answer. But like, you know, it's like if you need me, I'm there. I'm here to support you. I'm here to have your back. And I think for them, that's just seeing as I'm reliable. Like I've had a lot of friends be like, "You're just hella reliable. Like if I call you, you're there. Like and you'll bring whatever I need you to bring. Like you're just there." And you know, sometimes like people can be like, I feel like they're just using you. And I'm like, no, like I'm like, it's vice versa. If I need them, they're there. If I have a problem, they'll come support me. And sometimes I feel like some people see it as, oh no, well people are just using you for you, like using you for the things you do for them. And I'm like, no, that's what a friendship is. Like if I can call you for something and you can call me for something, like that's me supporting, you know? Like, that's me telling you, like, you're not by yourself. Like, if you need something, call me, you know? And it's like, and I don't expect people to give things back. Like, if you need me, call me. I'm there. Simple, you know? And I think that's why I've, like, have been able to always be around polys, because I feel like they understand that. Like, it's never just if I need you, you're there. Like, you're there for me. But it's the same. It's like we're there for each other. Like don't feel like you can't call me if you are dealing with something. Like don't feel like you're by yourself. Like just call me.
Yeah.
I'll support you. Simple. But my sometimes my family or like other friends who aren't poly see like you're always around. Like except my family, like you're practically talking. Like you're not even talking more. And I'm like, dang, like y'all just giving me away like that. And like they'll tell my friends who come over, and they'll be like, y'all might just take her. It's like she's just part of y'all. And I'm like, how you gonna give me away? Like you're gonna ask me if I want to go? Like you gonna just send me off?
Yeah.
And it would be a joke, but I'd be like, I don't know. It's just who I have been able to build friendships with. Like, but like I tell people too, I'm like I'm versatile. Like. Don't think because I post only this type of friend groups that's who I'm with. Yeah. I'm versatile. Like I have all types of friend groups, you know, and I'm just that type of person who, you know, if you need like me as a friend, I'm there no matter who you are. So yeah. So yeah.
Yes, yeah. Do you find like when they talk to you, like it's because like they get beat themselves, right?
I feel like a lot of times like a lot of them feel like if I talk to this person about it, like they're gonna, you know, judge me or make a face or you know, be like, why are you doing that? Why are you going through this? Why are you going through that? And it's like, for me, it's like I'm just like, girl, do it. Yeah. I be more like the bad side, like just do it, like you know, like.
Well, I don't think it's bad side, like the more supportive side.
Yeah, but it's like I'm gonna support you through it all. Like you want to go on a trip, let's go on a trip. We'll do it right now. Yeah. Like we'll plan one right now. Yeah. You know, or if you just want to freaking jump in the car and just drive around, let's jump in the car and drive around. Yeah. You know, it's. Whatever I can do to best support you, like, let's do it. Like, if you want to just sit in the car and sit in silence, let's sit in the car and sit in silence. Yeah. And I've had times where I've had my friends, like, pull up on me and be like, I'm outside. And we'll just sit outside and just talk. Yeah. About random stuff. Yeah. Like, and it's just, if you just need that, like, just someone to just talk your ear off to. And so I tell people, I'm a great listener. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm a great listener. Just talk to me. You know, if I can give you advice on whatever you're dealing with, I'm going to do my best to give you advice. Mm-hmm. If I can't, girl, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. No, but, like, we'll find a solution. Like, we'll figure it out. But, you know, it's just trying to be that moral support for people. Like, just being like, hey, Just tell me what's going on. Like, talk to me. And that just kind of, if that can ease just a little bit of their mind, then I've done my job. I've done my part.
Yeah.
As a friend, I've done my part. And not even just being like somebody just to rely on. Just as a friend, I've done my part. If you can just call me and just tell me, even just tell me how your day is. Like I have a friend who just calls me every day just to be like, how are you? How's your day?
Yeah.
How's it going? I'm just checking in with you. Like she just calls just to check in, like randomly. Like every other day she'll call and just be like, it's been a while. How are you? Or it's been 2 days. Like this other day she called me and was like, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. And we'll just randomly talk just about random stuff. And like she doesn't understand sometimes like just doing that for me because I'm one like I can be a great support system for other people, but like I don't like telling other people my problems.
Yeah.
Like and some people are like, you're weird, like why? They're like, I come to you all the time, like you know you can come to me. And I'm like, I know I can come to you and I know that if I call you you're gonna support me.
Yeah.
But like I'm just weird. Like
well, that's how you are.
Yeah, I'm just like that's just how I am.
Yeah.
Like if I am doing something, I'm just gonna deal with it in silence.
Yeah.
You know, if you happen to see me and you see me dealing with it, then you know you can help me deal with it. But if not, like I'm just not gonna randomly call you. And like and like I think I tell this all the time. I'm like, you don't understand. Like even you just calling me, like that just means a lot.
Yeah.
Like that just I can tell you things randomly without even knowing I'm telling it to you just because you randomly just called me just to see how I was doing. I'm like, if you just call me, just be like, hey, Anson, how are you? Oh, okay. And then if I end up telling you like, oh, I'm having a crappy day, then I'm telling you I'm having a crappy day. Yeah. Like you end up getting lucky with me being able to spill my guts to you, but like I'm not gonna randomly just call you and be like, oh my god, I'm having a day. Like that's just, I'm just weird like that. Yeah. So when she does that for me, I'm like, yeah, you know, my day's good, or oh, you know, it's kind of crappy, but you know, it'll get better later. Yeah. You know, like I can just have those moments, and you done that for me. Yeah. So it's just like a vice versa. Like it's just being a support system. You know, just randomly being able to just like rant and talk. So.
Yeah. And I you know, out of all the things you see within the poly community, what do you think is like based on your experience, like what was like the hardest or the toughest thing you saw somebody go through? Just because like, you know, what polys go through. Ooh. What was like the toughest thing you saw just based on your experience?
You know, the one thing I can say is so different about like polys and then like African Americans is the funerals. Yeah. I think like, and like I think in like the African American culture, like for funerals, it's like ours is like a one day
thing. Yep.
Done and done. Yep. Like we finna, you know, handle the business and when we buried my aunt, we did it in Modesto. And it was like we went down there from Modesto for like I think like 3 days. And, like, the family came down, like, you know, we all stayed in the same house, and, you know, it was a good thing. Like, you know, we got to, like, you know, see the family, see everybody, you know, hang out, kind of. And it was more of it wasn't even, and crazy part is it wasn't like a funeral, it was just, like, more of a, everybody come down, we spend a few days together, then, boop, here comes the funeral, then, you know, we have, like, a little service, little, you know, and then, you know, bury them and, you know, go on by your business, and that's it, you know, and, you know, the whatever family's still out here, and then, you know, everyone else leaves, and, you know, you spend time with family, and that's it. It's more of like a reunion than a funeral, you know. But in the poly community, it's like a week long of just like tears and sadness, and just it's difficult. And I think for me, like, that's the hardest. I think the first one I've ever went to was when some friends passed. And me and some of my friends, we went to the funeral, and we went, and it was like the funeral. It wasn't the funeral. It was like they had the one thing on Monday, and then they had another thing on Tuesday, another thing on Wednesday, And like, I think we only went to like maybe the last like few days of it. But there was one time we spent like, we was in the church and like we were there and then we were crying. And then it was like, I went home and came back, they were still at the church.
Yeah.
It was like nobody ever left. And I was like, everybody's in the same clothes. And I was like, I'm gonna go home, take a shower, come back. And like, for me, I was like, that's draining.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. Like, for me, it's like, if I'm like, for me to lose somebody, I'm gonna cry for one day and that's good.
Yeah.
But it was like, in the poly community, it's like, it's like living through it up until that person passed, up until you bury them.
Yeah.
And it's like, my first ever one, I was drained out.
Yeah.
Like, I cried for days, but I was drained by the end of it.
Yeah.
Like, by the burial, I was like, how do you go
Yeah.
through this? Funeral
Yeah.
after funeral after funeral. I think now, like, now I'm accustomed to it. Like, now, like, I understand it. Like, I get all of it now. But I think in the beginning, I was like, how did they do this? Like, how, as a parent or a cousin or a sister or a sibling, like, how do y'all sit through these funerals? Like,
Yeah.
I barely could sit through it, and I knew the person. But I was like, I have to just take a step back.
Yeah.
But it was like, as that being your culture, it's like, you can't take a step back.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to, like, go through, and then, like, the cooking, and even with the funerals, like, you have to cook for the people that come, and it's like, it was just a lot.
No, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And I was like, on the outside looking in, it was a lot of me.
Yeah.
But I think now that, like, now when I go to them, I'm, like, full force, and, like, I'm, like, helping, like, anywhere I can help. Like, I'm doing stuff now. So, like, now I'm more accustomed to it. But, like, in the beginning, I was like, oh, ooh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I thought, ooh, when I went to my very first one, I was like, oh, this is the first and this is the last. Like, that was my thought back then.
Yeah.
And then I was like, these are all that I'm friends with.
Yeah.
So, and then I started going to more and
Yeah.
more and more and more and more. And I think the more you get into the culture and the more you kind of understand the customs, the more easier it gets. But, like, I think for me versus them, it's like, I can take a step back from it, but they can't.
Yeah.
Like, as polys, it's like, there is no taking a step back.
It's part of our
There is
culture.
So
you just gotta do
there
it.
is no taking a breather. There is no, like, you know, being able to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna get away for a little bit and then I'm gonna come back and do it again.
Yeah.
There isn't that.
Yeah.
And I think from the outside looking in, like, that's the hard part. Like, where's there the break? Where's there, like, a wind down? Like, where do you, like, stop? And I think, like, I've kind of learned to just, I've learned to kind of become accustomed to it, but then I've also kind of tried to also be that wind down or that break for them, you know? And just being like, if you need me, call me. If you need a break, let's take a break. Call me. We'll go take a break, you know? And that, like, I think that can't just be like, oh, we're going to stop. I'm gonna, I can only be like your escape for a little bit, you know? Like, let's escape for a little bit, let's come back, and then we'll keep going, you know? And I think that's where, like, the mental health kind of takes a toll too. It's like, when you don't have that break, or if you don't have that, like, that take a step for a moment to get yourself right, and then get everyone else right. Like, if you don't have that, it's like, that's where your mental health takes a toll too.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're not even just comparing, like, all the other ethnicities, it's like any human needs that break. Like,
Yeah.
Any human needs to be able to say, this is a lot to deal with. Like,
Yeah.
I just need to take a step back. And I think that's where the mental health comes in. It's like, you have to understand, if you don't take a break, if you don't just, like, even if you just go outside and be like, I need some fresh air, if you don't just take that break, your mental health kind of takes a toll. Because it's like, you're running around worrying about everyone else, and you make sure everyone else is okay, and you're securing everyone else, but when are you going to secure yourself?
Yeah.
Like, when are you going to say, oh, I need a break? Like, I need a moment to cry. I need a moment to deal. Like, I had a friend that passed one time, and I was running around making sure everyone else is okay. I was securing everyone else's feelings. And it wasn't until I, like, walked away from everybody and I broke down. I just cried. No one else around me. Cried. And then it started raining.
Yeah.
And I was raining and I was crying in the rain, just on the floor, crying. Yeah. And it was at that moment that it was like, when do you take care of yourself? Like, when do you say, I need a break? Like, what can I do for myself to deal with it? It's like, if you don't deal with it first before you help everyone else deal with it, then you end up cracking and breaking, and then who's gonna be there to pick up your pieces, you know? So it's like, you have, like, I try to help them, like, realize, like, take care of yourself before you can take care of someone else. Yeah. Like, if you're not okay, how are you gonna make sure that everyone else is okay? So I think that's where kind of I've been, like, trying to, like, kind of be that support as well. It's like,
you see that a lot. I see
that a lot. It's like, you're running around helping everyone else, but what about you? You're making sure everyone else is okay, but what about you? Like, I was just talking to one of my friends. We went, funny story, we went to a funeral, like, maybe a week or so ago. And I was talking to one of my friends, and she was telling me, she's like, I just been going through so much. And I'm like, you have to learn how to take care of yourself before you can worry about someone else. And I was like, if you're not mentally stable and okay, it's like, how are you gonna make sure anyone else is? And then I ended up telling her, like, you know, I've learned, like, a few years back, like, self-love. Like, what can you do to take care of yourself? Like, what can you do to make sure you're mentally okay or you're physically okay? And I tell her, I'm like, there's times where I have to just take myself on dates. Like, I'm like, you know what? Me, myself, and I, we just gonna go eat. We're gonna go to a movie. We're gonna go relax. We're gonna go kick it. We're gonna do it by ourselves, you know? Like, when is there time that you have to, like, self-love yourself? Like, make sure yourself is mentally stable, mentally okay, mentally there. Like, you have to be able to support yourself before you can support somebody else. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, exactly. I'm like, so what are you gonna do now to make sure you're okay? And I was like, if you can't come up with something, I was like, call me, girl, we'll go do something. Like, we'll figure it out. But I was like, you have to be able to take care of yourself before you take care of anyone else.
I know.
So.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard as polys because, you know, we have, you know, our culture is all about giving.
All about giving.
And, you know, it's all about giving and helping other people. But so sometimes it's one of our biggest. It's our biggest strength, but it's also one of our biggest weaknesses. Yeah. You know, and like you said, I believe, man. I think giving is a beautiful thing, but
it is.
But you have to make sure that you're giving from a position of happiness and strength. Mm-hmm. That you're not giving, but you're broken down, you're miserable. Because like you know that term, make sure your cup is full before you pour out of people's cups. Make sure your cup is full. But if you're pouring and your cup is empty, then when you after you help everybody else and you go back home.
I know it made me think about a video I seen where somebody was like, "Why are you homeless?" And the guy was like, because he's like, I gave and I gave and I gave so much to the point that I had nothing else to give. And then he was like, when I started running out of money or not being able to pay my bills and not being able to keep a roof over my head, he was like, when I called the same people who I gave to, no one was there to support me. Yeah. So he's like, now I'm here living out of a shelter. And that's what sometimes makes me think when I see that video. Because I've seen the video, and sometimes the video just randomly surfaces. And when I see that, it makes me think, like, when you give so much. And, like, the great thing about the polyculture is when you give, someone always randomly gives it back without even knowing. Yeah. You know, that you done gave your very last, and then you receive something else. So like, that's in general, it's just.
Well, that's karma, right?
Yeah.
You give and something comes back.
Exactly.
But you can't rely on that.
No,
you need consistency.
Because sometimes you could be like, oh, I'm gonna give you my last 20. You don't know if someone's gonna give you another 20 later.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know if 2 hours later you find a 20 or somebody's like, hey, here's 20.
No. So karma, karma is, it's important to do it for karma, but as far as consistency for your own life,
you just have to know when to give.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is know when to give. Like, it's okay to give. It's okay to extend your hand and give your all. But it's like, if you know you only got $20 left in your bank, $2 in your wallet,
it's also okay.
Is it really okay to give that last 20?
It's okay to say no. And
it's okay to say no.
And that's something I feel like a lot in our culture we're not taught that.
No.
And if you do say no, then you're labeled as stingy or labeled as
or you don't care, or you don't love me, or
greedy,
right? Or you're greedy, or you're not trying, you're not supporting me enough. It's like, it's like, why am I gonna give you my last 20?
Yeah.
Like, what am I gonna like?
For me, this doesn't make sense to help people and then you go home and cry.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. Like, giving is something that you'll enjoy.
Duh. I know that if I'm giving you my last 20, it's gonna help you, but it's not gonna help me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense if I'm giving you my last 20 and then.
If I know that I only had $20 left in my wallet and my gas tank is on empty, and you're asking me for my last 20.
Yeah.
Is it smart to give you my last 20?
And then
especially if I know I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Exactly. Right. For me, that logic that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Because then now I gotta go try to find somebody else who I can borrow 20 from.
But I feel like I think it's just the pressure. That's why it's hard for polys to say no or do things for themselves.
Definitely.
Because we grow up and we're kind of groomed to.
You're groomed to be like,
you have to put your parents first.
Yes.
You have to put your family first.
Right.
You have to put everybody
whatever
first.
they need, you need to give.
Give, and like our whole purpose in life is to serve people.
And I respect that.
It's a beautiful thing.
You gotta know when.
Yeah.
When is it okay? When is it okay to do it? When can you do it?
Like you said it perfect. You have to take care of yourself first.
You have to take care of yourself first.
So give as much as you want.
Right.
Give as much as you can, but make sure that you're good first.
Make sure you're good.
Once you're good, you can give as much as you can.
Right. That's why I always know that's why for me but it's not even always just in polyculture either too. It's
it's all cultures.
It's all cultures too, because sometimes when payday hits, I know ooh, I know my mama gonna ask, so I'm like, you know what? Let me put gas in my car.
Yeah.
Let me do this. Let me do that, and then I know when she asks, I can give her what she needs because I know that I took care of what I needed to take care of before I gave her what I knew she's gonna need from me.
Well, yeah, I feel like for me, I feel like what the problem is we don't communicate.
Yeah.
So for me or my family, I tell my family straight up, look, if you ask me for something, if I can't, I got you.
I think the hard part is I think a lot of people are scared to communicate too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's I know if I tell you I don't got it, I know you're gonna be like.
In our culture, speaking up is considered disrespectful.
Yeah.
So. But for me, I tell all my family, look, if you ask me for something and I tell you no, it means that I don't got it.
Right.
So I you have to understand, I have bills. So the first thing I do when I get my paycheck, I have to pay my own bills first.
I think that's the hard part too, because you have to to even have to go that deep into explaining to is hard.
I know, but I have to understand this is how my family is.
Yeah.
I have to break it down like that because I don't want them. Because I don't want them to make it seem like I don't care.
Right. Or you don't love them.
I don't love them. So I literally have to tell them, look, I got a lot of bills and things I'm doing for my own life.
Right.
So as soon as I get my paycheck, I gotta pay myself, take care of myself first. If I have any extra, I got you.
Yeah.
So if you ask me this week and I tell you no, I can't give it to you, it just means that I just can't give it to you.
Right.
But if you do ask me and I give it to you, it means I got it. But if I say no, it just means I don't got it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a millionaire.
I'm working, but these hours ain't the hours it used to be. So.
In a pandemic right now, hours kind of get cut short.
Give me a second. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it.
Right.
But yeah.
And it took me a long time to figure that out. And now, like I said, once I communicated that with my family, now everything's good.
But I think even now, it still takes a lot of people to still understand that too. Cause there's times I still have conversations with people. I'm like, hey, if you know you can't do it, you can't do it.
People know me. I'll help you. I got you.
Right. But it's like, if you know you can't, like...
But I always tell them, look, but if I say no, it just means I don't care. It just means I got to take care of me first.
Right.
And like I said, and once I'm good, then I can help you out. And so, and then once I did that, then everything's more smooth now. But for me, I had to see out of politics. They just never get to that point. Because
they never get to that point.
They're afraid of speaking up. They're afraid of getting judged, criticized. They don't want to be labeled as the bad kid. Mm-hmm. All the other brothers and sisters follow what their parents say.
I think as a lot of them are starting to get older, though, I think they're starting to understand now, like, okay, like, there now has to be a point where I have to say something, or there's now to a point where we kind of have to figure out how to communicate these.
Well, I feel like that the equalizer, what changes everything for Polynesian kids is life, right? So like, you can be afraid to talk to your parents. You can be afraid to do certain things, but then when life hits you hard,
it always hits you,
and then no one's around to take care of you, that's when you realize, oh shoot, like, and that's how I learned to find the courage to break the cultural expectations and cycles, right? Mm-hmm. Because like when I went through the hardest time in my life, everybody I thought that was going to be there for me wasn't. Mm-hmm. So that I was like, oh shoot, this is life. This is the people I was always being there for, and then now I'm asking them to be there for me. Nobody was there. It's like that's when I realized, look, I gotta cut that culture. That shit doesn't mean anything to me. Right. That culture shit doesn't mean anything.
And I think that's also how people. I think that's how also kind of like how I've like built friendship as well. Yeah. Because it's like, it's never just about like me being there to support people, but it's like if you're there to support me, like if you can support me in the way that I need at that moment to be supported, like that's it. Like that's just where the friendship comes in at. And sometimes I tell people it's like, don't take it wrong. I've had friends that aren't probably be like, oh, like, that's all you hanging out with? Like, that's all you ever be posting? I'm like, don't take it wrong. Like, that, it's not, don't take it in the wrong way of, oh, that's just who you want to be with. Yeah. No, that's just who's been there for me. Exactly. When I needed support. Yeah. And it's like, I don't kick it with you for a whole different other reason, so let's not jump on why that is. But
the times I needed help,
the times that I've needed support, and the times that I've been down and out and needed people to be there, they've been there, and not because of their ethnicity, it's because of who they are as a person. Yeah. They've been there, they supported me, they've had my back, and that's who I'm gonna rock with because that's who rocks with me. Yeah. Like, if I have to fight for a friendship, it's like, is it worth fighting for? If I'm fighting people around you to be your friend? Mm-hmm. No. Yeah. Like, I'd rather not have to deal with that. I'd rather be around people who want to be around me and who want to, be cool with me and support me, and I support them in the best way possible. That's how friendships work. Yeah. So it's like, eventually it's like those friendships turned into family, turn into, a lot of people say, blood is thicker than water, right? But it's like sometimes you have to realize blood ain't as thick than water. It's like your own blood sometimes ain't the ones you can rely on.
I think my favorite quote is blood makes us related, loyalty makes us family.
Yes.
So there's
that quote.
Yeah, we're related by blood.
That quote has built a lot of friendships.
My loyalty goes to the people that's always been there for me, regardless of blood. That's what family is to me. Yeah, is loyalty, not blood. We're just related because of blood. We just have to have the same genetics because of blood.
Exactly.
But when it comes to my real fan, that's always been there for you. That's loyalty right there.
Yeah, and that quote breaks a lot of hearts because I've had a lot of people be mad at me over that because it's like.
Now we're related. Yeah,
we're related.
I always love you because you're my fan.
Like your family. Yeah. I don't even have that. Like, like we may got the same last name, but what have you done for me for us to have that? Like, just because we got the same bloodline and the same last name, like, that doesn't change how you are as a person. Like, if you ain't have my back and supported me, like, don't let that fool you. Yeah. Like, I can cut you off real quick. I've had to cut people off in my life. And, like, rebuild friendships or rebuild people that I know it's like, you're going to be there for me, Like, I'm just not going to keep you because I have to keep you. I don't have to keep you. Like, no. And it's like sometimes, because sometimes people can be too toxic. Sometimes you can get into a place where it's like, oh, you're toxic in my life. Like, do I really need you? No. Like, I'd rather just not have you if I can't be happy in the friendship. Yeah. Like, if we can't have fun, like, I'm not saying all friendships are perfect. I'm not saying all friendships are great. Like, but if we...
Yeah, if you don't just add value to my life, in some type of way. In some type of way,
it's like...
Just make me happy.
Do I really need you around?
Exactly.
No. Like, I'm just going to cut my losses where I cut them, and we're just going to move on.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you know what? It's hard for a lot of people to do that. It's hard for a lot of people to be like, you're toxic. I need to move on.
Well, I feel like what I told those people is the reason why you will never understand my life because you haven't been put in that situation. So that's why I have a lot of cousins around that always ask me, how do you find the courage to talk to your elders and your parents and to do your own thing and like how can you withstand it? Of course, some people like judge me, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like how can you like withstand all that stuff and not care about it? Like how come you don't care about people think about you? How don't you care about if my family saying certain things and gossip, whatever?
Right.
I was like, look, I know I've been in a position where everything didn't turn out good for me, and nobody was there for me.
Right.
Until you go through that, I know how that feels like. I never want to experience upon a time in my life where I was empty, had nothing else to give, and then I had to rely on somebody else, but then they weren't willing to give me anything. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, look, that's a position I don't wish upon anybody.
No.
That sucks.
Oh, no.
Right, that's a tough position to get out of emotionally, physically, spiritually, that just messes up your whole life. And it's like, I know what that feels like, so whenever people say, whenever like that trumps anything.
You know what?
I always gotta make sure that I gotta take care of me, because I never again want to be in a position where I have to rely on somebody else and beg for them to help me.
See, when I was younger, I always, even when I was younger, I always was given what I wanted.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until, I got into, high school that, I started working, that I started, getting my own money and started doing stuff for myself that I didn't have to rely on my parents, on my grandmother.
Yeah.
Literally, when it came to prom and all that, I bought my own prom dresses.
Yeah.
I bought my own cap and gown. My mom helped me with stuff. She gave me money here and there, stuff like that. She gave me allowance, but she told me, she was like, "I'm giving you this allowance. Make it work."
Yeah.
She was like, "You gonna have this for 3 days. If you can't make this stretch for 3 days, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not giving you nothing else." Mm-hmm. So I used to take this money. Mama, she gave me 20. She'll "Here's $20. Make this last till Friday." I used to make that last until next Friday.
Yeah.
And then she'll give me the same money. And then next minute, I'm having $100, and she's like, "How you get $100?" I'm like, "Your lunch money you gave me every week." Yeah. And she's like, "So you told me you saved it?" I'm like, "I didn't save it. I just put half of it away and then made 10 of it stretch."
Yeah.
So you stretch $10 for a week, you got $10 extra next week.
Yeah.
So it was the more I kept building on that, I've had to learn work for what you want.
Yeah.
If you want to move out and have your own place, you got to work for that. But you have to know how to be able to work for that, pay for that, and not rely on nobody else. My mom has always raised me it's okay to rely on people, but be able to do it for yourself. And I've always so now when I hang out with people, I had a friend who I was like, "Oh, let's go to lunch," and they're like, "Oh no, I can't really go to lunch." I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "I don't really get paid till next week." I'm like, "Let's go to lunch. It's on me."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, it's okay. It's okay." And I'm like, "Hey, it's okay. Let's just go to lunch." And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." And it's just more so of not me saying I got it, but you don't. But it's more so I've worked for it. Yeah. I've saved it. If I can treat somebody else to lunch, let's go to lunch. Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah.
But it was more so my mom was saying don't rely on other people to help you. But at the same time, it's if I can also give a little, I'm gonna give a little as well.
Yeah.
But I've learned to be able to work for what I need and stand on my own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Because my mom is so big on don't rely on nobody. When you get older and you need something, she's like, don't rely on people because people aren't gonna always be there.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn, and I've had to kind of instill that in myself as I got older.
Now I feel I think it's good to rely on people, but don't depend on people. Then that's different, right? Like, don't because like I mean I rely on family members, but I feel like I don't depend on them. That they have to come through for things to work out for me. Like, you know, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Well, I don't know. Because
I feel like I feel like depending means it's all or nothing. You're putting all your cards.
You're putting all your cards.
Like I can rely on you, but I'll give you one chip. I still got my stack of chips.
Right.
I can rely on you, but even if things don't work out, I didn't give you everything.
True.
But a lot of people depend, and
True.
They did give everything to somebody, and then when that falls off, then they're like, oh shoot, I got nothing.
You know, I've been in positions where sometimes I can't do neither. Like sometimes I can't depend, sometimes I can't rely on you.
Because
like
when I rely on somebody, I already put it in the back of my mind like just prepare that things don't fall through.
Right.
Alright, but I never depend on somebody like this must happen.
Right.
If this doesn't happen up there, I'm gonna be broke or like rock bottom.
I think I say rely because I think I use the word rely.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah. I feel like for me it's like I feel like I use the word rely versus the word depend because like I never want to depend on nobody.
That's what I don't depend on people.
When I want to rely, but like I rely on you to be able to be like, you know, show up. But if you don't show up, I gotta back up. I gotta back up.
You know polys, right?
Yeah.
So when you set a date with somebody.
Oh yeah.
So I can't. I rely on them. Hey, you come through at this time. Yeah, I'll come through. I mean, I rely on them, but
you're like,
I know. Okay.
I know. I said.
So I already prepared myself. Okay. If they come on time, it's cool. But they don't come. It is what it is. Like.
You know, But
I don't depend on everything.
Hanging out with them, I've had to like. Some of them have tried to like, you know, reverse me a little bit because like sometimes they'll be like, "Hey, this is starting at 7, right?" And you know me, like I've always been taught if you come on time, you're late.
Yeah.
If you come a little earlier, you're on time.
Especially if you tell somebody to do something.
I'm the type that like they'll like come at 7. I'll be there at 6:30.
Yeah.
Sometimes 6:45.
Yeah.
But I'm always there, right? And then 7 o'clock hit, and I'll be like, "Where everybody at?"
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, they'll be like, "Oh, we're gonna start at 7:30." You're like, "All right."
Never.
The next minute you're like, "Oh, you know what? We're gonna start at 8." And then 8 o'clock hit, and you're like, And then everybody started walking in. They're like, "What time you was here?" I was like, 6:45. They was like, "You didn't supposed to come at 9, right?" I'm like, 9. They're like, "Yeah, you know, Tanya time sometimes, you know,
I never
Charlie time sometimes."
I never understood that concept.
Like,
for me, it's just like if I give you my word.
If it's starting at 6, I mean, let's start on time. We end on time.
You know
like sometimes we used to have like YSA dances.
Oh yeah,
and then you be like, "Oh, we finna start at 7," and then all of a sudden everybody show up at 9:30.
And they do that on purpose.
And then the dance ends at 11. So you like, the dance finna end.
It's funny
y'all just walking in.
They'll purposely make it early because knowing time. So they want if you want to start at 10, you have to say 7.
And like no, for us, if you say 7, you really mean 3. We're gonna start at 3 o'clock, y'all. Then they'll show up at 7. Yeah. So then you're like, all right, y'all on time. Like,
this is crazy.
You gotta learn how to maneuver. So sometimes though, like my friends be like, just don't show up early. I'm like, okay, what time should I come then? They're like, if we say 7, come like 8:15. And then when I try doing that, I'm still the first one there. So I'm like, I'm just gonna stick to being the first one at events because y'all, I don't know. Now sometimes I've kind of worked it out a little bit now, but I still sometimes come too early too. So it's like it's okay. I'm just help set up. They're like, what are you doing? I'm setting up everything. Trying to help out. With an extended hand. They're like, you're not supposed to be helping. I'm like, I'm helping today because I was early.
All right. So you are Mormon?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk. I want to talk about that. Let's get into religion real bit.
Alrighty.
All right. So what's your experience for you being Mormon? And just listening to your story, you're the type of person that you're always gonna do what's best for you.
Yeah.
Your self-love, self-happiness.
Yeah.
And I know at times I'm Mormon too. I know our religion can be very conservative and strict. when it comes to the lifestyle of a Mormon. So I want to talk about that. Like how are you able to live your faith and still be able to live your life? And because I know a lot of Mormons, it's tough because as being Mormon, like we have to be a certain way, act a certain way. But at the same time, we want to live a normal American life.
Right.
Just live our best life.
Live our best life. just a little bit. Just a little bit.
But sometimes living our best life may not be seen or viewed as a good thing in our own religion. So what do you like? I want to talk about that experience for you.
Sometimes that can be a little difficult. I wasn't always Mormon. I got baptized, I would say, 3 years ago, going on 4. And I originally came from, like, I was first Christian. I grew up in the church. My grandmother was very bent on, like, raising us in the church. Like, we went to a church that a lot of her family went to. So I grew up in a very, like, family-oriented church. And it was great. She had us in everything. She had us in choir practice, and she had us in, dance practices, and, she had us, like, really, like, heavy into it. And I think over the years, I want to say going into, like, high school, like, we were still, into it. I think it was by maybe sophomore year, junior year, that, my mom decided she wanted to take a little break from it. Well, not take a break, but, like, juggling around, running around with kids, like, taking them back and forth. Because we were still going to church out here in San Francisco for a long time. And I think my mom, she kind of started feeling some type of way about her church. Like, don't get me wrong, she loved it. Her family, blood, and, she's always going to love them. But I think she started, like, feel type of way that she started, like, kind of took a break. But at some point she did start getting a little sick. And she felt like when she got sick, like, nobody really, like, cared as much, And when she, like, disappeared and stopped coming for a little bit, it was like no one really called, no one really showed up. So she started getting, like, a little resentment. So, like, we, like, stopped going to church for a while. And I was okay with it back then because I was like, shoot, like, I was tired of going to choir practice. Like, cause, like, like, on, like, especially on school days, it's like, I used to, like, on Wednesdays, I used to go to school, go to softball practice, then come home and have to go straight to choir practice.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, I didn't get home until, like, 11, almost 12 o'clock at night. And then I still got homework, and I still like get up and get up for school the next day. And then it was like, and it happened like that every week. So it was like, when we stopped going, I was like, ooh, like, no more, no more going to church across the bed. Like, I can, come home after, softball practice or volleyball practice. I can, like, relax, do some homework, take a nap, watch a little TV, So I was okay with it. And I didn't think nothing of it when I was younger. And I think it wasn't until I started getting a little bit older then I started kind of, seeing, like when your life is on track a certain way and then things kind of fall off, you feel like, okay, something in my life is missing. I kind of started feeling that a little bit. I was like, something in my life is missing. Yeah. And I was always like, I was always so into like, I was into like being Christian. I was into like being in my church. And then at some point I was just like, when I stopped going after some years, I was like, I'm feeling like I'm dealing with a lot. Like, I'm feeling like there's a lot in my life that's happening. And I feel like there's like pieces of my life that's like kind of, down. Yeah. And it stems right back to my best friend. It's like, she kind of got me into like the church a little bit. And it was like, she used to always like invite me to like YSA activities or like dances or like, state conferences, stuff like that, little stuff like that. And I was going, and then like one of her uncles was like so bent on like me being baptized. He's like, oh, like we're gonna baptize her, like we're gonna get her in, just like that. And I was like, no, like I already go to a church, like I'm just here because she invited me. And they're like, all right, and and I think it took maybe 2016. We ended up doing like a session with the missionaries, and then they were like, they were like talking to me about like the book and stuff like that, and we were doing lessons, and we did that for like some months, for a bunch of months. We met same time every day, and they kept giving me lessons, and then I think at some point, I don't know, like I kind of just felt like this was somewhere I like needed to be. Like I had like this feeling of just like this is something I needed to be.
Yeah.
This is where I needed to be at, and I ended up talking with them. They're like, so like they never pressured me into like being baptized.
Yeah.
They just kept talking to me. They're like, so how are you feeling today? Like we would talk about like different stuff that they had me read, different assignments that they would give me, and then at some point I think they finally were just like, so if we were to ever ask you like if you wanted to get baptized, like how do you feel about that? And they gave me the time to think about it, and I was like, I would be into it, because I was really I was completely not going to my church anymore. Like I completely wasn't there, and it's nothing against them. Like I still I was still back and forth even when I got baptized. Like I still sometimes, if my mom asked me like, hey, go to church with me over here, then I was like, okay, I'll go, but when they asked me, I was like, I'm down, like I'll do it. And I ended up getting baptized on June 4th. I don't know why I remember the date, but June 4th, 2016, 3 p.m. I ended up getting baptized, and like, I don't know, like I felt there was this rush of just excitement that I kind of felt, and I felt like this was just somewhere that I needed to be, somewhere that I needed to be at, and kind of revolving my life around just being Mormon. Like a lot of people be like, well, why? Like out of all the religions, why being Mormon? And I was like, it just gave me a sense of like clarity a little bit. Like gave me a sense of just like purpose, like getting to know myself and understanding, more about me and spiritually and where I wanted to be and where I needed to be. And it was something that I felt I just needed to do.
Yeah.
And I never regretted it. Like even anyone can act like everyone like likes to just get my opinion. They're like, well, why? Like what made you want to be Mormon? And I was like, just from the conversations with the missionaries and just from, the support that I was given through that time of me, like, taking my classes and really, like, stepping out to, get baptized, like, just that support that I was given was enough to just make me be like, this is where I want to be at. This is where I need to be. Like, just like the sense of love and the sense of family and the sense of just the caringness that I received was enough. It was like when I got baptized, I literally had a room full of people I did not know. Literally a room full of people I did not know. Yeah. Maybe I met these people each one time, but for them to all come out and support me and be there for a special time in my life that to me was special at the time, for them to all show up and be there to support me, I was like, oh yeah, this is somewhere I want to be. This is somewhere I needed to be. Mm-hmm. And just now, especially being in my 20s now, and just trying to like live that like that lifestyle now, I'm just like, it's sometimes hard because I'll be like, ooh, I know I can't do this. Ooh, I know I should do this. And it's like, and the funny part is, it's like when I go out and do stuff, I'm like, ooh, I know this is wrong. And it gives me that like sense of like, kind of like making that decision of like, do I still go out and do this? Yeah. Even though I know I shouldn't do it? Yeah. Like, and like, sometimes I make the mistake and I do it. Yeah. But I learn from it. Yeah. Like, I know, like, okay, I know that it was wrong. All right, maybe I should go talk to my bishop and try to figure out how to, figure that out or fix that or, so it's a balance. It's really just a balance of knowing what to and what not to do. So it just kind of keeps me on my toes a little bit. So I'm like,
So what do you see, like, based on your Mormon friends, like, what do you see them, what's the hardest things do you see them go through? Trying to, like, because, I think maybe easier for you to be Mormon and because you have like an outside perspective coming in as a convert.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I feel like a lot of Mormons growing up within the church they're in this bubble.
I think the
so
biggest.
So what do you see? Like, what did those friends, like the Mormon friends, what do you see them go through that they struggle with?
I think a lot of them, their biggest thing was trying to please their family or trying to please like their mom or their dad or their church or their bishops or or the president or just trying to please everyone who has their eyes on them. I think
like being perfect.
Yeah, like trying to be perfect. But I think the one thing I was told coming in was like, it's okay not to be perfect. Like it's okay to make mistakes and to be able to get up and try to fix those. Like we don't expect, because I think my biggest thing of just getting baptized from the outside coming in, like my biggest thing for me was like the drinking and the probably the partying, and then like on top of that, like there was a lot of things that I have done that in the commandments you're not supposed to do, and I was like, there's a lot of this stuff that I've done, so it's like, what do I do about that? And they're like, the idea is not for you to be perfect, but it's for you to
learn,
to understand that it's okay that you did what you did, but now from this time forward, let's not do it no more. And I think the hardest part for the ones already in it who were born into it is that they're afraid to step out, take a risk, and then learn from what they've done. So a lot of them are like, I've never done this, but I want to try it and then do it for myself. Like a lot of them have said like, I don't have my own testimony, and a lot of them are like, I've done wrong so that I can find it, if that makes sense. Like it's like I don't want to sit around and like keep. It's like a lot of them are like, I don't want to sit around and like I want to make my parents happy, but I also want to make myself happy. And it's like, if I've never experienced life, how do I know what to do? So a lot of them are just like, I want to step out and kind of learn it for myself. And it's like, a lot of their parents are just like, well, you're fine now, so just keep doing what you're doing. But a lot of them are just like, but I want to be able to just be able to speak from experience. But if I don't have that experience, what am I speaking? Like, I'm just using what you already have. And I think that's the hard part just about like being Mormon. It's like, so a lot of them like, I'm just gonna step away, and then when I'm ready, I'm gonna come back. And it's okay. Like, that's okay to just be like, okay, I'm gonna step away and come back. Because it's like, for me just being a convert, it's like I've already experienced that. Me converting was my change. Like when I converted, that was me changing the life that I already had before that. And for them already being Mormon, it's like they wanna step out to be able to experience that, to then be able to say, I have a stronger testimony in the church. I have a stronger feeling in the church because I've dealt with and experienced what I've dealt with and experienced, and now I'm back. So,
yeah, I see that. No, I do see that a lot. I think, like I said, it's just the culture of perfection. And then
it's a hard one.
And also based on my experience, sometimes the church can be very judgmental.
And that ain't even just in the Mormon church. That's just in church in general.
All churches.
And I think because that's kind of where like my younger sister is at. She's just like, I'm just kind of over churches in general, because she's like, it's just so judgmental. It's like you're supposed to be able to like come in and not have to experience that, but when you come in from your own people and experience that kind of feeling, it's like, why am I going to church? Like I could just stay at home. She's like, why am I getting up every Sunday to come if I'm just gonna come be judged?
It's because you go to the church and then everybody's like trying to act like they're spiritually perfect, but knowing that they're the people that are talking behind your back, and so I know that it can be tough sometimes.
I mean, I think in my experience though, in the beginning, like when I think coming into like the YSA for me, I was able to like kind of understand that even being Mormon, like you don't have to be perfect. Like you can come in, you can get up, give a testimony, and it can be a testimony about you doing like the craziest kind of things. But it's like it's more so of come in, tell us, and it'll be okay. Like you're not gonna come in and be judged, but you're gonna come in and I mean like your president's gonna want to like talk to you in the office later on, but it's more so just gonna be about like what can I do to better support you? What can I do to better help you? Like what can I do to be there for you more than you know what I already have been doing. So I think that's kind of what I liked most about like being baptized and being Mormon is the fact that like I know that if I'm literally dealing with something, like I can literally go to my president and be like, I'm having this struggle with this or this or that or that, and he'll sit down and be like, okay, well, what can I do to better support you? Not, oh, that's bad. Like you should, but it's more just so about he literally sits there and goes, what can I do to better support you? How can I better help you? And that's all that I ever need. All I need is
support,
for you to just be like, what can I do to support you? Like, what can I do to better help you? And I can walk away from there just feeling so content with...
encouraged,
more encouraged with like... Try better, do better, and just live my life the way it's supposed to be lived. So...
Yeah. And then just go to those YSA dances. I love you guys' dances, by the way. Like, Oakland, have you been to our like Upper Peninsula YSA dances?
No, I have. Ooh, I think I've been to one of them.
Yeah, well, you guys are dancing more lit. I'm not lying, you guys. I love it.
I know. I was just I sing your bishop actually at a wedding I went to the beginning of this month. Yeah. And he was like. I miss you guys, and we were like, yeah. He was telling us like, I liked when we all had that camp that we all went to.
Yeah, that
he was like,
you
guys brought such a light to our camp that like really like embraced like he's like I loved like you guys' activities. He's like I loved like all the stuff that you guys did. He's like you guys really went above and beyond. And I was like that's just like why I say like we're just like over the top for no reason.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But I was like that's just kind of just how we are. Like we love just like creating activities and going above and beyond for him. So it was like fun times.
Alright, for sure. I think the last topic we can talk about. Let's talk about relationships.
Oh. I mean.
So what's your your experience with relationships? Being Mormon. And I also ask you relationships. So yeah, just like what you've gone through, what you've learned, what the experience.
That's like, no, I don't know. Like, I like to tell people when people ask me, like, I'm on vacation.
Well, I'll start off with this. Do you feel pressure to be in a relationship as you get older?
Oh my goodness, all the time.
Yeah.
With every wedding I go to, they're like, "You're next, you're next, you're next, you're next," and I'm like, about that. I think I'm gonna, chill a little bit. They're like, oh no. Like, literally, like, my president has told me so many times, he's like, I'm gonna take you to Tonga and I'm gonna get you married. I'm like, sir, like, I'm okay right now. We're relaxing. But it's like, he's so, it's like my last president too was the same way. He was like, I'm gonna hook you up with somebody. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm okay, like, But it's just more so of like, it's not that I don't want to be in a relationship. It's like I've kind of told people, it's like I'm just vacationing right now. Like, I'm taking a break from relationships. I'm just relaxing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that if somebody came right now and was like, hey, let's date or let's talk, like, I wouldn't say yes. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm not running to look for one. You know, if it comes, it comes, you know? And if it happens, it happens. But, like, I'm kind of just, like, you know, I'm going with the flow right now. Yeah, I'm just relaxing, you know? So, you know, and people are like, well, is it for, like, a reason? Like, is it somebody hurt you? I'm like, no. I'm like, you know, like, my whole thing is I always tell people, was like, I've never not been single. Like, I've always been in a relationship. I've always talked to somebody. I've always been with somebody. And I think over maybe just the last 2.5 years, I've kind of told people, I was like, I just been kind of using this time to just, like, figure out myself. Like, figure out, like, how can I just, like, be me? Like, how can I, like, love myself or enjoy myself? Like, I used to tell my sister, like, I hate going to a movie by myself. I hate going out to eat by myself. I hate, like, doing things by myself. And I had to learn the last few years, it's like, it's okay to, like, go to a movie by yourself. It's okay to take yourself out to dinner. It's okay to go sit on the beach and watch the sunset by yourself. That's okay, you know? And I used to think, like, no, like, you're so lonely. Like, what is wrong with you?
You're lame.
But it's like, I'm like, you're lame. But it's like, no, it's like, it's more refreshing. Like, it's more of a,
be peaceful.
Understand yourself. Be peaceful. Wind down.
Yeah.
Like, if you're having a stressful day, take yourself out to dinner.
Yeah.
Go eat. Go relax. Go, you know, do something for yourself. And it was just more about, like, taking care of myself. And that's kind of what I just learned. Because, like, instead of, like, relying on somebody else to, like, help figure out yourself, it's like you rely on yourself to figure out yourself.
Yeah, like self-love.
Yeah, so that's just kind of, I've been self-loving myself for a few years. But it's like, you know, if a relationship happens, then, you know. But, you know, and just, I'm flowing with it.
So, like, what do you think is, like, the difficult thing now? Oh, what is the most difficult thing about dating or being in relationships now in our age?
I think a lot of us are just, like, looking to, like, I want to find the right one. I want to get married. I want to, you know, settle down. I want to have it all, you know? And I think for me, it's just, I just want somebody to vibe with, you know? Like, if we can vibe.
So you, like,
kick it.
It's hard. Is it hard to find guys now that you can vibe with? Is that the problem? Like,
I think more so, I don't have an issue with finding guys. I think I don't want to say I'm picky. Like, I don't want to use the word I'm picky, but I think I'm more so, like, I don't want to play around. Like, I think, like, when I tell people about relationships, like, when they're like, well, how do you find somebody? Like, how you start dating somebody? I always tell people, I say, if you can't be friends with them, like, the first step is to be friends. Like, if you find somebody and you're like, oh, I really like them. I really want to talk to them. Be their friend. Like, literally, like, if you can first be their friend and, like, get to know them, like, fully on, like, building something with them, then work your way up. Like, be friends, work your way up to that next step. Then if you get bold, ask them out. Or, you know, if you want to wait for them to ask you, then that's fine too. But I always I tell girls, it's 2020, like, take the initiative. Like, don't wait for the guy to ask you, ask him. Yeah. He might find somebody else cute and ask them first. Like, you never know. Don't wait. Like, then you're going to be single forever. Yeah. But it's like, you know, be their friend, work it up, and, you know, make it happen. But I think I'm just vibing. You know, I'm just vibing with people at this point. Like, if I like you and I, you know, see something in you, then, you know, maybe we'll, you know, figure that out. But it's just more like just going with the flow. You know, I just want people that, you know, you can just laugh with, have fun with, be serious with. Like, I'm not saying you gotta be perfect. Like, you can be a whole hot mess. Yeah. But, like, if we can build and, you know, if we can, like, build with each other That's all I need. You know, everything else is a work in progress.
Yeah.
And you can work through problems, but it's like you have to be able to have that mindset. I think a lot of people just want somebody who's already perfect or who's already put together, who's already
Is that something you hear a lot from your girlfriends? They want like this perfect dude.
Yeah, like, oh, I need him to have a car. I need him to have, you know, the best job. Or I need him to have money. Like, he needs to take me out. Like, girl, take him out. Like, I literally, there's times like when I was dating some guys, there were times I had to be like, let me take you out.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, no, I ain't got paid yet. I didn't say let you take me out. I said let me take you out. Like, I will, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I'm paying for the meal, who cares? Like, and they're like, no, like, I really want to, like, have money. I'm like, dude, like, I'm not asking that. I'm just saying, like, let's go out. And so it's just like, you gotta just be able to just, like, vibe with the person. Like, like, if they don't have it all together, they don't have it all together. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, if one day you gotta pay for the meal, and the next day he pays for the meal, like, let it be that. Like, don't always expect him to have to pay for everything, or don't expect him to have it all together. Like, you ain't even got it all together. Deep down, you make it look like you all put together. You probably ain't put together either. So it's like, how do you expect him to be put together? You're not put together.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying we all gotta be, like, super perfect, but, like, you know, let's just vibe. Like, y'all can build upon that. Like, y'all can build on a better job. Y'all can build on a better car. Y'all can build on a better life. But, you know, don't expect them to already have it. Because then you should already have it. Like, if he got a nice car, you should have a nice car.
Yeah.
If he got a nice job, you should have a nice job.
Yeah.
Like, match him. Don't just expect everything from him. Like, match him.
If he's cute, you better be cute.
Right, that's a work in progress.
I was just having some fun.
That's a work in progress. Hey, you know.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. No, but you gotta sometimes tell girls that, like, girl, like, you asking for too much. Like, I mean, if he ain't that cute, oh well. Like, look past that. And you gotta tell sometimes, like, look past it. Like, don't always look for the best, because sometimes the cute ones ain't the faithful ones.
Yeah.
Like, you can get a cute one right now,
yeah,
and he'll probably go cheat on you. You don't know that. And I'm not saying that's how the cute ones are, but I'm just saying, don't expect all the good things. Like, don't expect all the good stuff to happen. Like, if he's not that cute, oh well. Like, look at his personality. Is his personality great? Like, does he have himself together?
Yeah.
Is he gonna treat you right?
Yeah.
Like, you like, girl, fix them, you know. But it's just, you know.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
You feel like sometimes that you know, I think I hear that a lot with like women, girls, like, I think guys too, but they just want like a perfect person.
There's no such thing as a perfect person.
I know.
That's a fantasy right there.
I know.
Like, you can find somebody who you look at and be like, oh my god, he is so perfect, but don't got a job.
Yeah.
Is you gonna still want him?
Yeah.
I mean, he look good, but you gonna still want him?
Yeah.
He's perfect.
Yeah.
You don't got a job. You gonna still want him? Like, you know, it's like, you have to understand, like, everything's a process. Like, no one comes out into the world and like, oh, I'm just gonna be so perfect. Like, there's flaws in everyone. Like, you yourself probably have flaws. Like, you probably chew with your mouth open, don't even know it.
Yeah.
Ain't no guy gonna want that. But there's some guy who's gonna be like, oh, okay, girl, chew with your mouth open, it's cute. Like, you don't know. Like, everyone has a flaw, everyone has something. But it's like, if you're constantly looking for, oh, I need that perfect person, it's like, oh, you're gonna be single forever. Like, you're gonna be single for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. You know? So it's like, look past that. Look at what can they do for you. Look at how can y'all build together. Is he willing to give you the life that you've always wanted? Mm-hmm. He's perfect then, right there. Too bad if he ain't got a car or something like that. He ain't riding a big Jeep. When I hit 21, I was like, alright, I can still make this happen. I think by 23, I think was when I broke up with my ex. And then I was like, ooh, yeah, it ain't happening now. So then I was like, by 25, I was like, you know what? I'm okay. Like, by 25 was when I started being like, let's live for you. Let's be for you. Let's deal for you. Like, if everything else happens, it happens. But like, oh well. Like, your whole imaginary fantasy of how you wanted your life to pan out, oh well. Like, throw it out the window. Do something different. So now I'm just like, by 30, y'all probably have it together. And if I don't have it together by 30, oh well. We'll try again by 35. Like, it's just, you know, all you can do is take it day by day.
Yeah.
All you can do is day by day be like, all right, starting tomorrow, I'm going to have it together. If tomorrow don't come, you don't got it together, all right, by the next day, I'm going to have it together. And it's just, but it's more so about, what are you doing to make yourself have it together? Like, what are you doing to make that happen? Like, you can't just wake up and say, ooh, today, I'm going to have it together. No, sis, like, what are you doing to have it together? Like, you have to do something. You have to put effort in to have it together. So it's like, you can't expect the next person to have it together. Like, you can't run to somebody and be like, ooh, you have it together. I want you. They can have it together, but, like, literally not want the same values as you, or not want to do the same things, or not, like, want to get married. Like, you can find the cutest guy right now and be like, oh my goodness, like, I'm going to marry you. He like, I don't want to get married. I don't want kids. Then you're like,
yeah.
But you're so perfect. Yeah, but they don't want the same thing you want. So then what are you going to do? Stay with them because they don't want it, or because they're perfect? Like, so it's there's always going to be something wrong with somebody. But if you are constantly looking for that something wrong, or if you're constantly sticking to that same list, you're just going to be single forever.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you meet somebody, y'all vibe really well, y'all got the same things in common, and y'all, you know, are able to disagree but still love each other in the end, then that's your perfect match right there. You know, it's all about building. Like, y'all shouldn't always, like, I always tell people, like, if y'all like the same things, everything, like, you don't want them. Like, if y'all both like walks in the park and stuff like that, it's like, y'all never gonna have a disagreement. It's like, how y'all gonna build? Like, I need somebody who hates the opposite thing as me. Like, if I like football, I need you to hate football. That's playing.
Yeah.
No, if I like football, you gotta like football too. No, but it's just like, you want somebody.
You don't have to agree to everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you want somebody who's like slightly the opposite of you. Like,
well,
I need, like, opposites attract sometimes. You know, like,
I think for me, you want somebody that's confident in themselves, in what they like, how they, you know, what their own point of view. But
tell me no sometimes.
Yeah, like they're willing to, willing to tell you how they really feel, how they see things,
right?
And not try to like tell you what you want to hear.
That's not what I want to hear.
Right? like they're confident themselves. Like, they can disagree on what they like, the team.
Because my problem is, I already pumped my own head up, so I need you to bring me down a little bit. Like, I need you to balance me, because like, I can sometimes like walk out in sweatpants and hoodie and be like, ooh, I am so cute in these sweatpants. Like, me, these sweatpants and this hoodie, my hair in a bun, I am cute. I need you to go behind me and be like, nah, sis, like, sweatpants and hoodie, you need to go change. Like, I'm gonna tell you no, but just tell me the opposite, okay? Because I don't got time. But it's like, you want a balance. You don't want the same, but you want someone to be able to balance you out. Like, if you know you're loud, like, you need somebody that's quiet. Now, if you date somebody that's loud, then y'all gonna be two loud people together. That's a cute match. But, you know, it's all about balancing. Just balancing it out. You know, find what works for you.
Yeah.
But don't expect them to be perfect, because no one is perfect. And you want to be able to build something and not be like, oh, he's just a perfect person. Like, no one's perfect. Maybe in your eyes he's perfect, but everyone has a flaw. If you're expecting them to be perfect, then you probably will never find another a husband or a boyfriend or anything, because you're expecting something that can never happen. So.
Yeah. Do you ever go on those dates people like recommend you to go on?
Heck no. I mean, and they be like, oh, I'm find somebody. Like, all right, I gotta go now. Bye. They be like, where you going? I'm gonna go over there on that side. Or like, when they do recommend, they be like, oh, I'm gonna hook you up with that person. I'm like, that person is taken. Go ask them before you try to hook me up with them. They're like, no, they're not. I'm like, I know them. I know they taken. Like, they're like, I'm gonna go ask. I'm like, I'm telling you, I know these things. And then they'll be like, it's okay, they're not really happy. I'm like, you know what? you know what? They be like, they got a ring on, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Wait for them to be single first. Something. They be like, but you're gonna be so perfect. You know what? That's where I gotta go. I gotta go after that point. Like,
I think the good thing about you going to poly YSA, that you don't have to worry about being related to anybody.
You know what? That's what everyone says too. That's like everyone's favorite line. They're like, you're just so lucky. You're not related to nobody. I'm like, that's how it's supposed to be. No, no, but I feel bad because I know a lot of people who are related to everybody. And I'd be like, ooh, how you going to find somebody? So, I'm like, we're going to have to work this out. We're going to figure this out. We were trying to figure it out, like, okay, we're gonna find somebody from this place. Like,
I swear, Thomas, we were like related to everyone.
Everyone.
Like,
well, you know what? Ask me last name. Say last name.
Like somebody's second or third, fourth cousin.
No, somebody. You know what? Somebody actually did that to my best friend.
Yeah.
Like, she was talking to this guy, and she asked him. She was like, "Are we related?" He was like, "No." She's like, "No, for real. What's your last name?" She was asking all these questions. She's like, "We're not related." She went to a birthday party that he was at. They was cousins. She was like, I knew it. You tried to play. He's like, no, it's okay. She's like, no, it's not okay. Like, I don't want to talk to you. He heckalized to her. She was like, this is why I don't talk to you right now, because I asked you and you said no. He was like, but it's okay, but I want to talk to you. She's like, we're related. Yes. It was taking funny.
Some people just don't care.
Some people just don't care.
You don't care.
And he for sure didn't care. She was like, she called me hucking man. She was like, why did he tell me? I was like, oh my God, girl. It's okay. It's okay. Just, block him.
All right. I think that we pretty much covered everything. Yeah. It was a pretty fun. It was fun and interesting.
Yeah, sometimes I could, talk a lot.
No, it was great. It was great. To end it off, usually at the end of every interview, I always ask you just to say a couple words. Share, and a lot of people watching this, and some of the things you said. I think you shared a lot of great things about your story that we talked about in your journey. Yeah. A lot of people can resonate with. So I just want you to just share some last few words, everybody. Some inspiration, some confidence, some empowerment to people out there that's going through the same things that you went through, especially the biggest struggles that you went through in your life. So someone, if you want to share something with them.
I mean, I think my biggest thing that I probably want to share is it's okay to, it's okay to put yourself first. Mm-hmm. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to make sure that you're good before the next person is. Mm-hmm. I think that the one thing I think a lot of people can take away is just, love yourself. Make sure that you're 100% where you need to be before everyone else is 100% where they need to be. Not saying don't support those people. Support, but make sure that you're putting yourself number one. That's going to be hard for a lot of people, but if you start off slow, like, I'm not saying jump right into it now, but I'm saying if you start off slow and just, taking like little breaks for yourself, taking yourself out, doing little things for you, just making sure that you're okay, having like little self-care moments for yourself. If you're just starting off little, like just going to dinner by yourself, like just like taking yourself, like for me, I like going to get my nails done. Go get your nails done by yourself. Go get your feet done. Get your hair done. Do like little stuff for yourself, and just slowly kind of just building that self-love for yourself, and just making sure that you're 100% good. That's all that matters. If y'all need any support, y'all can always hit me up. Yeah. I'm, always a phone call away, or, even a DM or a text,
You are single, right?
I am single.
And mingle?
Single. Kind of mingling. No, I'm single and mingling, here and there, all around. But, yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, for sure. That's it.
That's it. It's a wrap.
Yeah.